And we're back. And Professor Harvey K is back. Debut
Hello, Professor.
on
Hello.
Left Past
Let's
10.
agree that from here. Call me Harvey tonight, okay? Please.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Wow.
Harvey it is.
Cool. You guys got to call him Harvey right away. I had to work up to
Well,
that.
Andrea, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Howdy?
When was that? Was that 3 years ago? 2 years ago? When was that?
That was a while ago.
Okay, so you know Andrea. You've been on Above It All. How about Sandy Shellis from Environmental Coffee House?
Who is also muted currently.
Our
I have
resident,
unmuted.
our resident expert on all things environmental and climate.
And
That's a
coffee.
fantastic show, by the way, if you haven't heard of it.
Environmental
Thank
Coffee
you.
House, okay.
Hi,
And then
Hiya.
our old pal Jake Drogellis from What You Can Do, which is a show that talks about new and Jake, I'm just going to do it for you. It talks about news
Yeah.
and politics, but also what you can do. So he never leaves the audience without saying, here's what you can do about it. And it's just a
Excellent. That's
fantastic
great.
concept. You would love
Am
it.
am I allowed to ask geography questions?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
Where are you all situated this evening?
I am in the southern tier of Western New York, in the middle of Amish country, in the middle of nowhere.
What's the closest town?
Olean.
Oh,
Buffalo is 85 miles north.
North.
I'm 85, about 85 southeast.
Are you anywhere near? Is it East Aurora, something like that?
I'm farther away from East Aurora, but
Okay.
I used to live up in Erie County. I worked at the university for 22 years as the research HR director for the
Oh.
Research Foundation. So yes, I'm a Buffalonian.
Okay.
Jake,
where are you?
Currently in hell, dealing with a case of COVID, but I
Oh,
am
man, I'm
normally
sorry.
situated
are you
in
doing? What kind of
Dearborn,
drugs are you on right now?
Michigan. Just good old fashioned Vernors, a Michigander's cure for all ailments.
There you go.
If
So-
you're hit with stray rifle fire, a little Vernors, buff it right out.
And I talked over you.
My
You said-
grandpa
When you
was
say
from
Werner, you
Michigan,
mean
and so I
root
used to
beer?
drink that as a kid.
It's not
Oh.
Verner's root beer, right?
It's ginger ale, my
Ginger
friend.
ale,
That's
right.
the key. That's what fends off the diseases, and that's why Andrea is so healthy. Clearly, she had it as a kid, so boom, boom.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
so wait,
Boom,
Andrew, where are you
boom.
located? Remind me.
Well, I used to, last time we talked, I think I was still in North Carolina, maybe.
Really?
But
I didn't know that.
yeah, well, I left North Carolina and I now live in an undisclosed location because
bunker,
I don't want
even.
people to come after me. So
She's
I
a
have
bunker
experience
baby.
with that.
Bunker baby.
Yeah.
So where are Jake? So you're in Michigan.
Yes, sir.
Can you reveal where in Michigan?
Dearborn, Michigan. It is the town right next to Detroit.
Gotcha. I know that.
They're intertwined. Those
We're
towns.
not. I mean, we're not that far away from each other.
My family
Really?
is
Where
from
are you
Dearborn.
at?
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Not too far at all. Not too far at all.
Right.
Just a quick ride across the lake, and we're having tea together. I like it.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Guys,
and-
I loved your conversation. I was listening to that whole
fantastic.
thing.
Me too.
It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Jake,
Don't worry, Andrew. I'm not
question.
expecting you to say anything.
I know Jake has questions.
I like the
Yeah.
fucking Playboy part. That was good.
I guess I'll tell you that I'll never forget. There are things that come out of nowhere, and to get a phone call from the editor of Playboy was one of them.
There you go.
I would say.
How do you
Yeah.
get your how do you get your students interested in Thomas Paine? You're teaching at a high level.
The
Are they
Playboy
already
article,
familiar?
obviously.
Well, the first thing to know is that just to be honest, I'm professor emeritus now. When the pandemic struck, so it was like actually it's what 4 years ago this month that the university sent everybody home, not to come back till the end. Well, for 2 weeks. They said first 2 weeks, then we never went back. So we finished the semester online, and I love doing things like this, but I hated the thought of teaching 50 students online.
Yeah.
So the University of Wisconsin system, well, the state decided that to protect themselves against what they believed might be a recession or even a depression in light of the pandemic, they were going to buy out, if people were willing to do it, senior faculty of the University of Wisconsin system.
Oh.
So they offered a buyout to folks like myself, senior faculty, where they said, if you leave this summer, we'll give you half your salary for the coming year.
Nice.
And I took it. I had never intended to retire. I had never, and it wasn't the money specifically that did it. It was the idea that I did not want to teach online, and I saw at least the next full year being just that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's actually when I started doing shows, including Andrea's back.
The irony.
Back then. I've always said in academia, no one retires, and I'm the only idiot that did.
So normally I tell a lot of dad jokes on this show.
Now I'll tell the dad or granddad jokes.
I'm considering not doing it anymore, and here's why.
Oh,
I was on a Zoom call recently, and I told a joke, and there was a lot of people on the call, and no one laughed. And so it turns out I'm not even remotely funny.
Wait, are you sure they weren't muted?
Remotely funny.
Maybe they were muted.
Oh, maybe they were. Maybe I was muted. That's
Maybe
my
you
dad
were.
joke for the night.
Maybe you didn't even know.
You're remotely funny, Matt.
If the letter hack tells a joke,
Everybody's
muted.
laughing.
Did it ever happen?
That's right.
here's what generally happens. Sometimes I catch him. Generally, what'll happen is Letterhack will tell a joke, and a full 30 days later, I'll be sitting there. I'll be like, oh, and then I'll leave it in the comments on the video, like just now.
Funny.
Time
He may not be
release.
funny, but he is memorable.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go.
I'll
Put
take
that
that.
on your gravestone.
I'm going to use that as a quote on my autobiography from Professor Harvey K. He may not be funny, but he is memorable.
Yeah.
I think
That would
that'll sell
actually be
books.
that would be fantastic.
That
Yes,
should just be
great
the
quote.
straight up title.
That should be the title.
So you asked how it is that I could turn students on to Thomas Paine?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think that I may sound smart when I talk about this stuff, but it's not terribly fancy ways that I speak. I think that's first. Second, you can tell the story of Paine. You heard the French Revolution story.
Yeah.
So if I told Paine's life in full, it's once, maybe 3 times or more that he almost died.
Fair.
And as a consequence, maybe 4, as I just thought of it. And as a 4 times, I guess. As a consequence, students like when they hear somebody might have died, I think that's a catch.
Right.
True.
In fact,
True.
one student actually wrote a paper on if Paine had died like this time, what wouldn't have happened? Then the next time, what wouldn't have, that kind of thing. Which
That's
is very
really
clever.
interesting.
Really clever.
Yeah. Man,
Well-
you gotta if you end up recalling who that student is, you gotta tell me in private so I can credit them, because I'm absolutely gonna steal that as an idea for a video. That's a great idea. Kudos to that student.
It's
I
anime
like.
fan fiction.
I like the
Call it
Norman
close
Lear
calls.
story.
Oh, and that's only, and I have, by the
I grew up with that. In
I'm
that
glad to hear,
era.
I am glad to hear that, because I didn't even tell the full story about my time with Norman. let me, since you sit, do you mind all if I tell this?
Oh, go for it.
No, this is
Okay.
history.
Give us
This
the
is what we're
extended
here for.
version.
Are you kidding?
So there's various elements to this. One is when he called me and we finally got an original conversation, he said, this went on for a couple of weeks. And then I got a call from one of his producers who said, in short, Norman would like you to fly out. This was a Tuesday. He'd like you to fly out Thursday to LA. Okay. Which, by the way, it doesn't happen often that people call you in as an academic and say, can you get on a plane and fly out? They usually invite you like a year ahead of time, that kind of thing. And so, and I actually happened to be I was on leave that year because I had a National Endowment for the Humanities Fellowship. And I said, yeah, I could do that. And I said, so what are we going to do when I'm out there? He says, Norman told me not to tell you. He wants to tell you that kind of stuff. I said, okay. So the next night, and they were flying me out first class, which most academics don't get to do either.
True.
And so Norman called the next night. This, by the year, was 2008. And he said, Harvey, really looking forward to us getting together, blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be spending the afternoon in a meeting. You'll be meeting with my team on the project, which you'll find out more about when you get here. I said, okay. All I knew was that it was a project to create something called Remix America. That's what it was. It was going to be a YouTube-like website for students and in college and high school. Anyone could go on and create a piece of historical and social criticism using the technology there. It was early, this was, again, I don't remember when YouTube really took off, but it was around that time that everyone was talking YouTube. So, and then he said, and then after dinner, we're going to go see will.i.am. Okay. Yeah. Sandy, you know who will.i.am is?
You're muted, Sandy.
From the Fugees.
If you don't know,
yes, I did. I do. I'm sorry. I muted myself.
Well, the reason I ask is, Norman, I was quiet when he said that. And he said, Harvey, do you know who will.i.am is? And I said, no. And he said, how about Black Eyed Peas? Oh, yeah, well, I know Black Eyed Peas. Well, he's the brains of the operation. That's how he put it. Oh, so we're going to be meeting him tomorrow night. And, okay, great. And so I got up
Black
the phone.
Eyed Peas are very tasty, by the way. I've had them many times.
So I wanted to meet Fergie, by the way. So
famous chef.
I would need to drink water too if I were telling that story.
So what happens was, I certainly got off the phone. I called my nephew, who was at that point, I don't know, 13. And I said, hey, guess what? I'm meeting will.i.am tomorrow night. And he just exploded on the phone. You know, a lot. He says, quick, go buy a CD. And when you get there, have him sign it for me. So I didn't get a chance to buy the CD, but I thought, if the opportunity arises, that's important because of what's going to happen. So I fly out, but here something happened along the way. I was at the airport early, 7:00, to fly first class Green Bay to Minneapolis onto LA, and the flight was canceled. So Delta rebooked me by way of Chicago on a United flight. But it meant going to Chicago, then to Denver, then to LA. The point here was when I finally before I got on the plane, my wife says to me, "No blondes, no Coke."
Wow.
Joking.
And so there goes my weekend plans.
So basically I got held up. I did not get to LA when I was supposed to, which was supposed to be like 11 in the morning. Instead, I got there more like, I don't know, 3 in the afternoon. So I arrive at the airport in LA, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do at that point. I don't know where I'm going or anything else. So I called Norman's assistant. Her name was Marilyn. I said, Marilyn, this is Harvey. I'm at the airport. What am I supposed to do? She said, oh, Norman has arranged for the buyer from his house, from the estate. He had a mini estate up in Brentwood. The buyer from the house, the woman who had been hired to do all the buying and stocking of things in the house, she's going to pick you up. I said, well, what does she look like? She goes, she's young, very attractive, long blonde hair.
Oh no.
Shoot.
I said,
Oh no.
Hey, do you have any brunettes?
So she arrives,
Yeah.
and she was a student at one of the colleges in the LA area. And we're in the car, and while we're driving, we're on a freeway, and of course there's traffic. And Norman calls and says, "Harvey, where the fuck are you?" And I said, "Norman, you send a pretty blonde to pick me up, and you expect me to turn out for you?" So, and I heard him laughing, and he said, "We're going to do great this weekend." So I got off the phone laughing,
That's funny.
and the young woman whose name I'm forgetting said, "What was so funny?" And I told her about what my wife said, and she said, "Oh, did you want some Coke?"
That's
That's
too
I
much.
thought this LA is not my usual scene. So I eventually get to Norman, and that evening I told you about that evening. No, I didn't tell you about the evening. So we did have dinner with his assistants, and before we went to his house where I met his wife, which was later in the evening, Norman and I and one of the young assistants went to this Black Eyed Peas event at a theater in LA. And when we got there, Norman said, "I hope you don't mind if we go on the red carpet." So, and it's all the paparazzi, like, it's lots of stuff. And we get to the end of the line, and then Norman grabs me and he says, "We're not going in here. Come with me." So we go out, and we're escorted to the back, basically down to the dressing room area. And before we go in, he says to me, "You're going to meet will.i.am right now, and under no circumstances do ask for his autograph."
Oh,
As
no.
far as he knows, you are. As far as he knows, you're more important than he is, because he doesn't know exactly who you are. I said, "Oh, okay."
It's good strategy.
This was an important meeting,
I'm
apparently.
going to use that strategy.
So we walk in, and Norman says, "This is the guy you want to meet." And he introduces me, and Will had actually had a boot on his foot. He had sprained an ankle or something. And he says, "Can I give you a hug?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So that evening, the three of us are talking for about 45 minutes before the event that we were going to, which was a fundraising concert. We went to the event, and then afterward, Norman and I went back to his house. But it was funny because my nephew says, "Get me an autograph," and Norman says, "Do not ask for an autograph. As far as he knows, you're more important than he is." This will come up in a little while again. So I said to Norman, "This is great. What are we doing this weekend?" He says, "All will be revealed."
Ooh.
So we get to the house, beautiful, huge house, and it's a gatehouse, a guest house, and the main house. It's like a plantation almost.
Feels like the setup to a murder mystery.
It does. God, yeah. Well, speaking of which, okay, I'll tell this part. So Norman said, after I met his wife, we had a drink or whatever, says, "Harvey, I'm gonna give you the gatehouse," which, by the way, was bigger than my own house here in Green Bay.
Jeez.
And I go in, and I eventually go to bed. I'm wired at this point. This is all very strange and different to me, and I'm tired.
And the Coke is not worn off yet.
What's that? Yeah, right. So I go to bed, and then it's got to be like, I don't know, 4 a.m, and I wake up, and it's hot in the room, in the house, and somebody had accidentally turned the heat on well above what it should be. But so I got up, and I went over to the window, and I don't know if there was light fully yet, but what I realized, which I did not realize when I got into the house, was that I was at the edge of a precipice. And I looked down into what was clearly an abyss. And I thought, shit, if there's an earthquake now, it's all over. But I started calling people in the East, which was still pretty early, but I thought, fuck, none of these people will believe where I am right now. So I called people in New York, and I said, "You're not going to believe where I am." And I told them Norman Lear brought me out to LA. I mean, people were like, they just couldn't believe what I was telling them. So I walk up to the house for breakfast at 8. Norman and I had breakfast. And then Norman said, "Today you're going to be me." And he said, I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm sponsoring a conference at University of Southern California, USC, it was basically on remixing, mixing and mashing. That was it. And I've got some of the leading lawyers handling questions of copyright. They're going to be there. And some of the leading remixers from the internet are going to be there. And this is going to be an all-day conference. And I'm not going. So when you get there, somebody's going to pick you up in Louisville. When you get there, you just get the card that says Norman Lear. That's who you are for the day. So I went to the conference that day, and it was kind of very interesting, but I was tired as could be. I had been up early, limited amount of sleep, fell asleep in one of the sessions. And then at the end of the day, Norman says to me, not Norman, the guy who had picked me up, who was his producer that I had spoken to originally, he says, I'm going to drive you to Hancock Park. I think that's the neighborhood in LA that we were going to. He said, you're going to a dinner party with Norman and his wife and a couple of producers and writers and the head of NBC Entertainment.
Ooh.
Okay. So we get there, and it's just a group of about, I guess, 8 people around a dinner table. And to my amazement, they all were fascinated by Thomas Paine. They wanted to talk about Thomas Paine. That wasn't why I was there, but Norman wanted to show me off, you might say.
Okay, yeah.
And I could tell you little bits about the evening, but it was a fascinating thing for me to be in a setting which was utterly different than I was ever used to being in. The next day, I get up, had breakfast with Norman. Now we're on Saturday. And Norman said, you're going to help me write a speech this morning, that if you don't mind. I said, no, that'd be great. So we spent the morning working on this speech. At lunchtime, we broke for lunch, and Norman says to me, we're going to a meeting this afternoon over in, I don't know, it was West Hollywood. It's the area of LA beneath the Hollywood sign. I'm not a specialist on LA, so I can't tell you anything more than that. A little neighborhood down below the Hollywood sign, and the houses were all about the size of my little house, my wife's and my little house here in Green Bay. We got there, it was the producer, the head of Norman's foundation, a youngish woman, Norman, and myself. This was to be the sort of key people in this project of Remix America. And the task we had that day was easy. So Norman said, he said, we're going to write the mission statement, or the opening of the mission statement for this project. And the 2 people who were there, who I liked very much, both of them I really, really liked a lot, started talking in their respective jargons, and it turned out to be very sort of Hollywood-ish and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So Norman stops. He says, what do you say, Harvey? What do you think about this? And I said, I don't know, maybe we can make it more readily understandable by the very people we want to appreciate this project, young people or something. And I just said, our intention is to encourage something like smart, creative, engaged, critical citizens. Something straightforward like that. And Norman says, that's great. We don't need to, this meeting's over. Norman stands up and says, I just gotta go to the bathroom before we leave. So he goes to the bathroom, he comes back and he says, Harvey, I'm going to give you a tour of Hollywood on the way back to our house, which was way on the other side. I already told you this. You already heard the story about the 10,000. I skipped that as part of the story.
Fair enough. But I want to just pause for a second and appreciate the fact that somewhere there's a room full of people that are like, yeah, I met the creator of Maude. He knows a ton about history. He knows like a ton about history.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah,
Norman Lear, big Thomas Paine guy.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, Norman was a generation older, so fortunately they didn't really believe I was 85 years old.
Okay,
fair
enough.
When I was only,
it looks great.
When I was right. Although it's interesting because as the story unfolds, there's a moment where, at least at the degree to which we could look alike as at different generations. So we get in the car, and Norman says, "Now do you know why you're here?" And I said, well, he said, because I want this project to be informed by what you have to say and what you think.
Oh, wow.
Okay, great.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, so he wanted a sort of progressive patriotism, a straightforward kind of talk. He didn't want it to be, he wanted it to be sophisticated, but not fancified. Okay, something like that. Okay. So we drive through Hollywood, and Norman says to me, Harvey, you know when I went to the bathroom? I said, yeah. He said, I was standing there peeing, and it dawned on me that I could just die right there.
Jesus.
I said,
I think about that every day.
I said, wow, something like that. So he comes back. So I said that would have been upsetting, Norman. That would have been, I didn't know what to say. And then we pull up to a stoplight, and to the left, so he's in the driver's seat, I'm in the passenger seat, and to his left on the corner, it says live nude girls. And
As long as they're not blonde, you're good to go.
so
Gee,
Norman's
that's
looking
good.
around, and then he sees that, and he goes, "Hey, Harvey, you want to see live nude girls?" I said, "That'd be great, Norman, but what if you died in there? That would be embarrassing. Not just for
good
you,
point.
but for me too."
Yeah.
And he broke it. I mean, fortunately, he broke into hysterics. And one of the things I learned at that moment, though I had a sense of it already, is Norman was the kind of comedy writer where he didn't mind being the straight man, that he would feed you the opportunity to make the joke complete. And
Yeah.
and I was really impressed by that. He didn't feel like he had to impress me with his humor. He already had that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure I had to impress him with mine. I actually responded most of those occasions because I felt so utterly and absolutely comfortable being almost not snotty, but just cutesy about things, just like, hey, this or that. Okay. And then that evening he was going to this big party for the Bergmans. The Bergmans were a team of, they were older folks who had written any number of sort of music and lyrics for shows and movies and things like that. And Norman said, "I'd like to take you, but this is what do they call that? A tuxedo type. It was a
Black tie affair.
black tie
Yeah.
kind of thing." And I said, "Well, who are you going to be seeing?" He said, "Well, I know that Barbara Streisand is to my left. My wife will be nearby. Barbara Streisand's going to be there next to me." And the connection was this: that couple had written the music and lyrics for the stuff in the movie Yentl that Barbara Streisand did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then the next day, and he left me, Norman, with one of his two daughters who was there, and he said, "You have complete say in the movie room, in the projection room." It was this big family room like thing, and it was the Academy Awards were coming up, so every film of the last numbers of years in the Academy Awards were all on this computer, that you could then just play any movie you wanted. So I was still exhausted, but I fell asleep and watched Juno at that point. And what's really cool is the two of the women who worked in the kitchen, the Latin Americans, and I spoke Spanish with them. They made me homemade ice cream, which was fun. That was just the fun part. Next morning,
What flavor?
I'm glad you asked. It might have been like banana, something like that, with chocolate chips, something like that.
That's good.
So yeah, it was good. Next morning, I get up, I go up and Norman and I are having breakfast. And Norman says to me, "I don't know if you want to go, but I like to go to the Grammy rehearsals." He says, "I don't like to go to award events unless I have to. But what I do is I go to the Grammy rehearsals." He said, "The place, it'll be the Staples Center. It'll be empty except for the performers who are rehearsing. You, me, I'm bringing along my two daughters. They were young. They were like 13, 14. And we'll have a good time." And I said, "Wow, sounds great. I couldn't imagine anything better." He said, "What time's your flight?" Which was very late in the afternoon, early evening. I guess it was a red eye or something like that. So we go into LA, and it was very exciting for me because although I'm not even sure I would have watched the Grammys necessarily, when we got there, security was incredible. It was like as if, it was like the president was arriving. They were checking under every car and all that. And when you go in at the desk, the people who were signing you in to get into the Staples Center, they said they recognized Norman and they had a badge for him or whatever. And they said to me, "What are you?" And Norman said, "He's talent. That'll be his badge." So I have this badge, talent, okay, which I still have. And it's on the refrigerator.
Keeper.
Downstairs on the refrigerator. So we go into the Staples Center, and people just immediately came rushing over to see Norman. And it was just great. And we sat down, and the entertainment was pretty good. It included Tina Turner. Ling, is that the pianist? This very famous pianist who did Gershwin's
remember.
Rhapsody in Blue.
Hmm.
Jerry Lee Lewis was still alive. I think he performed. I mean, it was great. It was just fun. So at a certain point,
I would imagine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, Norman says to me, "You know, Harvey, I got to go to the bathroom. Would you walk with me to the bathroom?" So we get up. We're on our way out, and the bouncers who were already there waiting for that evening's event. One very big guy who was either a former football player or basketball player says, "Hey, Norman, I see you have your son here with you." And Norman says, "Yeah, he's home from the East," something like that. It was very cute. So we get inside, we go into the men's room, we're at the urinals, and Norman, turns to me and goes, "So what do you think?" And I said, "That's tremendous." And the guy down the way in the other urinal says, "Watch what you say in an LA bathroom." Sorry, I don't know anyhow, at least Jake picked up on that. Okay. So,
Good. That's good.
so as we go out, Norman says, "By the way, I'm really glad you're enjoying this," he said, "and get back." And the paparazzi started taking pictures of me with Norman and the two girls. And the guy said, "Are you really Norman's son?" I said, "No, I'm just working with him on a project." And he said, "Well, you're now going to be in these paparazzi, in these photos. Hope you don't mind." I said, "I don't mind." So I do have the
Can we
photos.
see those photos somewhere?
Yeah.
I do have them somewhere. If you're interested, I can.
Heck yeah.
I can-
Someday.
I got pictures from the Black Eyed Peas red carpet thing, the whole bit. Actually, it was not a red carpet. It was a green plastic carpet in honor of the environment. How's that for irony?
That's
Yeah.
funny. Nice.
Everything's
What was
irony
this
when
like?
it's in
Yeah,
honor of the
It's a
environment.
good time period.
You never got that autograph either, right?
What autograph of Will I Am?
Black
Yeah.
Eyed
No, but
Peas.
when the Black Eyed Peas came in for the rehearsals, and Will saw me, he quickly hobbled over to give me another hug.
Oh,
Okay, and I said, "I don't want
Jeez.
your hug. I want Fergie's hug."
Yeah.
And he said, and I didn't do that really. I didn't do that. That was around. It wasn't long after that she had that big hit, like "Big Girls Don't." No, that's a Four Seasons. It was some kind of thing about crying or something like that. She did a song. It was a big pop hit. So I got to the airport and got on the plane in my first class seat. I sat down and I did something which only would be on a TV sitcom. You know, when that moment and somebody doesn't believe they're awake and they sort of pinch themselves?
Yeah.
I'd had such an unusual, surreal weekend that first thing I did when I sat down is I actually did this. Okay. And I worked with Norman on a whole bunch of stuff during the next year and a half, whatever else. And
it's a great story. I want you to clip this, Matt, for my 89-year-old mother, who will absolutely love it.
Oh,
well,
it's getting clipped.
You have to.
too, because my mother and Norman went to the same high school in Brooklyn. They were a year apart.
Oh,
And when my mother found out, my mother was still alive, obviously at the time, but as I tell the story, she said to me, "Is Norman married?" And I told Norman, I said, "My mom was eager to know if you were married." I told her you were. He said, "Oh, I'm flattered that she would ask." So
oh, that's funny.
yeah.
yeah.
They all grew up in Brooklyn. So did my mother.
Yeah. Actually,
Coney Island.
Oh, really? No
Shocks
kidding.
me about all
Wow.
these stories, including the ones you were telling with just Letterhack earlier. Is like, there you are. You've made a name for yourself as a professor of history, and you're rubbing elbows with the aristocracy, and these people with all their free time, all their no worries about money breathing down your neck, they know nothing. They know less than the rest of us. It is truly. I mean, I'm not trying to dunk on. I mean, it sounds like
but I will
Norman
tell
was
you
a great guy.
That does not. Actually, what's interesting about that is, in one sense, they knew something, obviously, and they knew an industry extremely well, which I didn't. Norman himself was pretty well informed. Okay, I mean,
yeah.
And I left out
enough to invite you out.
I left out a key part of the story, which I'm sorry I did. At around that time, not maybe a year or two before I met Norman, or before he called me, Norman had bought a copy of the Declaration of Independence. This was one of those stories you hear about in movies or whatever, where they discover on the back of a painting. There's some incredible other thing.
Sure.
Someone called
somehow-
Nicolas Cage.
Somehow, was that?
I
Someone
said
called
someone
Nicolas
called
Cage.
Nicolas
Movie
Cage.
That's
about it.
Well, somehow or other, some family discovered or someone discovered a copy of the Declaration, an unknown original copy
Wow.
of the Declaration.
Did he hang that in his house?
Wait, better than that.
Wait.
Because that would be a decoration of
So it went up for
independence.
auction through Sotheby's, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, auction. Okay.
Okay.
Boom, boom.
And there was a right-wing guy who wanted to buy it, a conservative. He wasn't an utterly right-wing, but he was definitely a major conservative billionaire.
Oh.
Okay. Actually, if it's a name that I don't know if it would mean anything to you, it was either Gilder or Learman. If you knew, there's this Gilder Learman Institute, and he was one or the other. He was a very, very wealthy guy who collected Americana and wanted to promote American history and American studies, that kind of stuff. But he was conservative. To his credit, he rescued the institution known as the New York Historical Society. He is the guy who rescued it from
That's cool.
financial trouble. Okay, so Norman outbid him for the Declaration.
Okay.
But Norman's idea was not to hang it on the wall. He got it with the idea that he was going to put it on the road in the year before the 2008 election.
Oh.
And he organized a group called Declare Yourself. And it went city to city, like, major tour with celebrities showing up with the idea that this would get 18-year-olds to turn out to register to vote. They would meet the celebrities and they would register to vote.
What year was this?
2008.
I remember it.
In fact,
Declare
there were
yourself.
various corporations that actually helped him do this. I think the Gap
Yeah.
was one of them and others. And by the way, the party that he sponsored in DC for the Obama inauguration was like the big final event of Declare Yourself. So when I got to Norman's home, which was back at the beginning of 2008, not 2009 when the party was, I said to Norman, do you have the Declaration here right now? And he said, as a matter of fact, I do, because it was between events or whatever else. And he said, I assume you want to see it. I said, oh, absolutely. He goes, but I do want to warn you, I cannot open the case. It was a special wooden case that they had produced. I can't open it without tearing up, he said. That's how he felt about the Declaration and the Revolution and the meaning, the American promise, basically. That's why he wanted me there. And when he brought it in the room and he opens it up, he brought it from, it might have been in the bedroom for all I know, but he brought it into the study, which was a phenomenal room. And he opens it up, and I can tell you, I teared up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And by the way, they had really cleaned it up. It was beautifully cleaned up. You should also know that I can't remember, the signatures weren't even on it. Now, the first thing to remember is they didn't really have an event where everyone turns out to sign it. That painting is a fiction.
Yeah.
It was available to sign over a stretch of days or maybe even weeks. So when it was first produced, it might have been 26 copies. They were quickly sent out to various parts of the country to let people know we've declared independence. Yeah. This might may even have been one that was sent to, say, New York or somewhere and then got lost in the process. But it was definitely an original. So anyhow, it was pretty exciting. It was really
awesome.
pretty exciting.
Did you touch it?
No, he wouldn't allow it to.
Okay.
No, that was.
I would be
it was terrified. In a case, the wooden. It was, call it a box, but it was a rectangular size of a big, painting frame, and you open it up like a suitcase, and then there was a really, utterly like pure glass cover there. No, he didn't let me touch that. I don't even think he would have gone near touching it at that point.
It reminds me, one time I was in the New York Public Library, and they had just opened for the day. And not for the first time ever, just that morning. So I was like, I'd never been in there, and I was like, I want to see it all. And I was like, oh, there's stairs. Let's go upstairs. And we went into this room. It's one of those things when I think back on it, every time I think back on it, it seems less and less real. But it happened. There's just a big empty room. and there's these portraits all around the room on the walls. It's like George Washington, all these like, famous guys from history. And I said to the person that was with me, I said, I don't think we're supposed to be in here. We shouldn't be able to touch these. This shouldn't just be open like this. Anyone could come in here and just yank these, and there's no guards. We shouldn't be in here. And just then somebody came in and said, "Oh, this room's not supposed to be open." And I
Trust
was
me,
like,
there were cameras on you at every moment.
I'm sure, yeah, but I just had that sense that it was like, I don't want to be
It's
the
now
guy
or
that's
never.
going to sneeze on this
Oh
or
my
trip and knock this off. So I wouldn't be anywhere near that Declaration of Independence.
Well,
I'd be across the
Oh
room
my
going, yeah, I
God.
see it.
In that vein, I have to tell you that this occurred twice, or 3 times, an experience of like touching something that you can't believe you've touched. Okay.
Yeah.
And one of them was that when I was working on the FDR project, the Fight for the Four Freedoms, and I went to Hyde Park, to the FDR library, where the FDR archives are. And you sit down and you can request documents be brought to you at the table. And it's so much fun doing research if you're at all interested in this kind of stuff. But what I don't think I'd ever felt the way I did when they brought to me the original drafts of the speech of the Four Freedoms, the State of the Union speech for the Four Freedoms, the originals. And they were not in cases or anything like that. They were in folders, and you could actually touch them. And kept, foolish, it'd been drafted in 1941. And this was already decades later. And so I can't imagine how many fingers had touched it. But I remember thinking to myself, what if they didn't touch every spot? So I took my hand and I slowly touched every spot on the document, hoping that maybe the DNA would just have rubbed off onto me a little bit. Okay. And then I did the same thing a few years later when I went back for another piece of research. But then there was another one.
We got COVID.
I sullied the document.
or wait a minute, think of some, well, that's a 40s, think of some 40s thing, God forbid I should even say this kind of stuff like polio, but
40s
anyhow,
thing.
I was vaccinated. But here's the thing. I went to the Library of Congress when I was working on my FDR book, in fact, as well, the Four Freedoms book. And I had discovered that, who the fuck is this? Miller, who married
Arthur Miller.
Arthur Miller, that there was a
Mhm.
play that he had written called The Four Freedoms that had never been made public, that had never been published. Okay.
Has it since?
No. So I told my editor, when I get to the Library of Congress, I want to see that play.
Yeah.
He goes, look, I want you to do everything you can to read it while you're there. If they won't let you remove it, or even see if they'll photocopy it, maybe we could publish it in a little book. This was a major New York publisher. They could afford to do this with, if they were going to contact the estate. So I got there, and when I was there, I was holding this original document, and I thought, my God, this is an Arthur Miller play that has never been published. And I'm one of the few people no one even mentions this, other than, it'll be in a biography. It'll be mentioned in some works about, what was it about? About sort of the arts during World War II. And they'll mention the fact that it was never published. Okay. It might have been performed, by the way. And it wasn't like a dramatic play that you would put on a stage. It was like a gala event. Okay. It was meant to be, and it was going to be performed, I believe, in Harlem as a celebration of the Four Freedoms and internationalism. Anyhow, I did read it. I doubt if it would have made for a, I don't even believe for a moment the estate would allow it to be published, or it might well have already been published.
But
But
why wasn't it published?
Well, I'd have to find the folder to remind myself about some of the stuff that was in it. The language.
But like nobody liked it. They were like, eh.
No. I mean, I
Was
think
it too
maybe
controversial for the 1940s?
It might have been that. Although, as I said, I think it was actually performed as part of a series of events in Harlem, but it never got printed in any way or distributed in any way. And I do think I did get the people in the Library of Congress to photocopy it for me. And I'm glad that I thought this up. I've got it somewhere behind me or downstairs in a thing. I should look at it again and read it. I could do a reading of it. I wonder if that's legal. If we're not doing it for money.
Oh, everything's a
Better to ask
copyright.
for forgiveness than
Yeah,
permission.
right. Anyhow, but that's
Yeah.
Good one, Andrea.
it's those kind of moments where you just, geez, you think, God, no one's ever seen this other than like.
There are a couple of different comic art museums.
Oh, I bet.
Where you can see some of the most famous comic strips ever. And as much as I want to be there, I'm not going because I'm not going to be the guy who accidentally burned that place down. There's no way that's going to be me. I'm not going to do it. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad people enjoy it. I'm not going to go there. I would love to, but I'm not.
There's another interesting moment, just as long as I'm reminiscing about Norman.
And you are. It's great.
Please, yeah.
My
Norman-
mom's gonna love it.
This would be maybe in the spring of 2009. I'm having a hard time remembering. I'd have to look at the emails to go back to it. Norman, I don't know if you all realize that Norman was the biggest thing for television in the 1970s. But right. Okay. Around 1980, he walked out of television.
Before you go on, let me just clue in the audience. All in the Family, the Jeffersons, Maude. Am I missing anything?
Yes.
Alice, I think.
Sanford and Son.
Right?
Sanford and Son, right? Absolutely. And there was another
every other
Mary
famous show
Hartman.
you've
Mary
heard.
Hartman.
Yep.
There
That
you go.
was, by the way, probably that one that wasn't on one of the major networks. It was syndicated, I believe, on other. I remember being on like a minor television channel in New York, so it must have been that way around the country.
Good time.
It was that was a late night show. I don't think it went on before maybe 11 at night. It was supposed to, maybe, I don't know why, but somehow that was the case. Well, around 1980, 81, he walked out of television. He was so angry about the rise of the religious right and their hold on about politics and public debate and all. He was outraged because he saw it as un-American. He saw that as un-American, that they would make.
He was right.
You bet.
Yeah.
They ignored the fact that the Constitution was godless. There was no mention of God whatsoever, or religious oaths, or anything like it in the Constitution. They were ignoring the whole question of separation of church and state. So that's what led him to create the lobbying group, People for the American Way. He also then put together an enterprise that created a 2-hour television special called I Love Liberty. It was huge. Major Hollywood performers and singers took part in this over this 2-hour period. I'm not even sure they got paid, to be honest. This was this big event. That's first element. The next element was that he actually got Barry Goldwater to deliver a short talk for this event. Now, Barry Goldwater.
That's a surprise.
Well, Barry Goldwater despised the religious right.
I did not know that.
Yes, and I don't hold me to this. He might even have had a gay brother, but don't hold me to that. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. The point being that he did not like religious pressure in politics.
I think they found out about his brother when he commented at a urinal in L.A. But
Be careful what you say.
That's where that comes from. Barry Goldwater.
All right,
It wasn't careful.
Right. So wait. So then another one he got was Father Hesburgh. You know who that was? He was the longtime president of Notre Dame University, a leading Catholic in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
He also participated in this anti-religious right event. Okay, this Christian nationalism shit. So, anyhow, and he was in fact, Norman and he was really interested. This would have been in 2009 to possibly do it again, something like that. We talked at length about that. I can't tell you how eager I was for him to do something like that, even if it was just a 1 hour kind of thing. But he just decided he wouldn't do it. It would take far too much energy, and things that just.
Well, what about now? I mean, what about now? We need
Except
a
he died.
movement
He's just
like
died.
this. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about leaders of the progressives. What about now?
Well, I don't think,
after
I'll
this.
put money that the television networks today he did that on ABC television.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You think any one of the main networks
No.
would do it?
It
You
would
think-
have to
know
be
television.
like it would have to be like Netflix or
If you get like a lot of
Yeah, it would
big
have to be
names,
like
you could just
Netflix,
post it on
right.
YouTube. Like big
I mean,
names will draw it
goes
in.
right. It goes
Yeah,
viral.
well, but you really need a lot. You need real money to make that kind of thing happen. If only because you'd want the promotion to be huge.
Well,
So,
now we've got the real thing happening. The takeover.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see like it's bad because of this thing that's happening to you right now.
yeah,
That's
right.
that's just what I mean when I'm talking about your experiences hanging out in these circles. It's so fascinating because Norman Lear is clearly like a good person who made it just gigantic, as big as you can make it, making shows. And he has a sense of history and the world around him, and he sees the decline of America, and he tries to do something about it. He invites you up to Hollywood, and you go up and you talk to these folks, but the people you're running into have this, like, especially when you're talking like 2008, there's this tragic lack of understanding or caring, and they're just I'm not any one of them specifically am I pointing at, because this is clearly a cultural thing. Will.i.am is like, he's got no idea who you are, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna hug you, and there's a room full of people that are told that this is Norman Lear up here, and here you are giving them a breakdown of what they need to hear. And I truly, I don't know. It's both a comedy and a tragedy at the same time.
Yeah, no,
because
exactly.
We wind up
You're
here.
Yeah, a lot of them,
Oh.
it may be the only time they've been exposed to something like that.
the chat
There's-
is
Well, there was one other thing I worked on with Norman a bit
Mm.
in the course of that. Well, actually, the bunch of stuff, but this one in particular. Norman
Adam
wanted
McKay.
to create. Norman thought he should offer an alternative understanding of what it means to be born again. So he created. By the way, Matt, can you on your computer just call up? Put down. Type in "born again American."
You're gonna get
okay.
a lot of
Keith
hits there.
Carradine.
Was he in it too? Maybe it could be. Yeah.
I see. Norman Lear.
Oh yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. You're not allowed. Are you think if it's on YouTube like that, you can play it, right?
Was an initiative to
no.
declare
Not
yourself.
on
Not
here.
necessarily.
No.
Okay.
I can probably show this website though. That shouldn't be
cool.
a problem.
So Norman was working on writing this song. Okay.
Here's the lyrics.
There are the lyrics, in fact. So, and every day
Let
in the
me sing
morning,
it.
every day in the morning, he would email me some stuff. He wanted to know what I thought. I wasn't the only one. There was a few of us he was doing this with. And I, at various times, I would actually criticize what he had done, because I thought, look, he's my buddy because he wanted my intellectual input, right, or my critical insights. And one morning, I think he called me and said, "Harvey, I need affirmation." And I felt so bad. So here was this guy who was, mid-80s, saying he needed my affirmation, not my criticism, which I gave him readily. But then I think that one day I got a little too critical. So
Yeah.
Interesting.
No,
I'll have to look
I-
into that.
Oh, and I left out
I
the point when
understand.
I'm leaving out these very interesting to me, their insights about Norman. The morning he told me we would go to the Grammy rehearsals, I thought, wow, it's going to be fun. And I got, and he stopped for a moment and he said, "Give me a moment." And he leans over in this breakfast nook in the kitchen, big kitchen. And he grabs a small notebook of, about the size of something like this. Okay. And he opens it up and he starts writing in it and he puts it down. And I said, "What's that all about?" And it was amazing. His face changed, his mood changed. For a brief moment, he actually had me frozen. He said, in the worst voice imaginable, "It's none of your fucking business." And I could tell you at that moment, I thought, "Oh God, I just fucked up the whole weekend."
How could you have known?
But it was instantaneous. What I then did is I said to him, "I just thought he might have something to learn from you." And he instantly changed and he goes, "That's why I love you." And I thought, what? But it was like, because I could reply. He didn't know how scared I was at that moment, I guess.
Kind of like a Hunter S. Thompson thing to do.
It was just like that.
Got to keep you on your toes.
And he didn't show me, it's just, he was making some notes off of some of the stuff we were talking about. But
what do you think it was?
well, I mean, it was just, I wish I could remember what I saw when he said, "Here, look," and then he closed it. But I think I was still recovering from fear.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Creative types are a little.
The weekend in itself was a learning experience for me, because I saw a great comedy writer learn how to play the straight man. In other words, that if you're confident, you don't have to be the jokester. Then
Yeah.
I also saw him test me, because I don't know if I don't think he planned it. I think for that brief moment, he actually, that maybe I was prying. But then when I came back, it sort of clicked that, no, okay, that he had something to teach me, not me just teaching him.
Say that again about the confident man doesn't always have to be telling jokes. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a good comedy writer, you're giving other people opportunities constantly to be funny, right? But similarly, if you're talking to someone and you're confident about, if maybe you have to be confident in the other person to respond in a comedic fashion. And look, first time he called me, the funniest thing is I'm pretty good with the F-bomb. If my students could tell you that. And I remember in that first conversation, that hour-long conversation, I remember it very clearly. At one point, he said something. He used the word "fuck," and then he hesitated. He said, "Is that okay?" And I laughed, and I said, "People would laugh if they knew you asked me that." And he said, "Good. Then I think we'll be like family." That was that kind of thing. And it was just that moment where everything gets sort of tested out and you move ahead. And by the time I got there, I think he figured, or maybe he was so rich it didn't fucking matter what I did.
That's funny.
One time I said to him, I said to him one time, "Norman, you think you'd be willing to come and speak to my students?" And he said, "Well, maybe." He said, how did I get to Green Bay? And when I mentioned he'd have to take a couple of flights, I said, "I don't know." And then I said, "Oh, Norman, I've never had a billionaire stay in my house." And he said, "I'm not actually a billionaire, Harvey." I said, "Oh, fuck, half billionaire hasn't been here either." And he laughed. But it was just, it was.
Why am I breaking out the good china? Christ.
Right. When he passed away, I didn't cry or anything, but I felt like something had just gone. And I sent a note to Bill Moyers, who was I have been very close with, and the two of them were very close. One time, I was walking along the river here in Green Bay on a trail that they had turned a railway track into a hiking, walking, biking trail. And my wife and I were walking along, and the phone rang. My cell phone rang, and I said, I said hello, and it was Norman and Bill calling me from Paris because they had set out and found the statue of Thomas Paine in Paris, and they wanted me to know that they had done that to honor me. And I said, "Wow, that's great."
Wow.
They ended up forgiving him. That's good to hear.
Have you seen that?
In Paris? No. I was in Paris so many years ago that I didn't even know there was a statue of Paine there. And I haven't been back in Paris since 1972.
Well, after the bed bug outbreak is all fixed up, we should go. That would be fun.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think that's still going on, by the way. I'm not sure.
I didn't even know about it.
Oh yeah, it was bad. These are fascinating stories. I should point out we've been on the air for an hour. If anyone
Yeah, I didn't mean
wants
to. I
leave.
mean, I didn't mean to occupy the
Wow.
entire.
No,
Oh,
I
it's okay, Harvey. It's
believe
history.
me.
Feel free to occupy as much as you want.
This is
Okay. Well, I've got another 20 minutes. Of this, if you haven't realized, is my wife's. This is the loft bedroom in this little house of ours. So that's our bedroom back there, and this is my office that I've always used to work and write and stuff. So and I generally stay up a bit later. My wife tends to go to bed a bit earlier. So like 10 my time, 11 yours. Whatever we're doing, I should just pack up.
But I'm telling you, I think I can speak for all of us. We would pay for an evening with Harvey K. So like this
If I
is a
had money.
huge treat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you remind me of
Well-
memories I have because my grandfather actually was in he had a company called Telcom in Century City. And I think he had worked with Norman Lear because he was a programming consultant. He was the one, his company was the one, and he worked with Filmways. They helped determine what went on what time frame. Because I remember as a kid asking him, can you put Lost in Space on earlier? Just brought back memories I haven't thought of in a
Your mother
lifetime.
was in Brooklyn. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Yonkers and in San Rafael, California, and Westchester.
Oh, so you're East and West Coast elite.
Yeah, but I'm not elite. Believe me, that's a whole
I was just
story in
playing with
itself.
you.
I know, but it was an interesting story because I haven't thought about it in a long time, and I never had any of those affiliations at all. But it was just
I never imagined I would. I mean, actually, if I was going to, you know what? I have thought about writing about people when I was a little kid, my grandparents lived in Brooklyn and I would be with them a lot. And especially in summer times where I could be out of school and I could spend weekends with them or be out in Long Beach, Long Island, which you must know, where they would take an apartment there near the beach. And when I was, my grandfather was very, very close to the key figures in baseball, like Leo DeRocher. I don't expect you to know the name.
I'm old. I remember
Charlie Dressen, who was the manager of the Dodgers when they won the World Series in '55. So my grandfather was very close to the Dodgers. He knew the players. Players would show up at my grandparents' apartment. Not when I was there, but when my mother was there, still younger. And my grandfather, if it was baseball season, if there was a game, when I was with him, he would take me. I was really small. I had to be 6, 7, 8 years. I was really in that childhood phase, not just young. And before the game, we would get to go into the dugout to meet players. And then we would sit on the first or third base line. And as a little boy, little did I realize until I was getting just a bit older, I met Jackie Robinson. I met Gil Hodges, Duke Snyder, Pee Wee Reese, who was actually a very good friend of mine. And, so even early on, who knows who you're going to meet and, later come to realize who you did meet.
Oh, yeah. I met Jerry, Phil, Keith, and Keith Gottschall and the Dead. So, I mean, you think back to those things.
Okay,
who you meet.
Yes, it's funny. I was never a Grateful Dead fan, but I
was then.
but as a professor, I had students who weren't that much younger than I was. I was like 26, 27 when I started, who were Dead fans, and I mean, I appreciated their enthusiasm. But
it was enthusiastic. I hung out, and the thing was though, once you meet and you hang out with these people. What more is there after that? You've already, you met them, you feel who they were. And it was like, okay, well, when I went back home from that trip, I just moved on in my life.
Yeah, it's like going to the moon after that.
Right.
It's just the Earth. I met Roger Staubach.
Quite a story.
Well, we're talking music, but this is again before your time. Did you ever hear a group called the Blues Project? Came out of New York.
I feel like I have, but I wouldn't know a song.
They were like very avant-garde. They were a mix of jazz, folk, and rock. Okay. This would have been like late 60s. And then the groups that I think spun off of not spun off, but came later that really were in that fashion were like Chicago, which is still well before all your times, but that kind of stuff.
No, they were the first band I ever saw, and I was very, very young.
Who?
Chicago. And
Oh,
Bruce
okay.
Bruce Springsteen opened for them.
Ah, good. I'm glad
And
you
it was at the Garden, but it was actually at the Felt Forum.
Okay, I have a Springsteen story.
My parents took us down and dropped us off. I was living in Westchester. My parents dropped me off at Penn State Central.
Sure, the Penn Central. Yeah,
Yeah,
Penn
and
State.
my
Right.
cousin, my cousin met me, and that's the first concert. I think it was in 6th grade.
Wow, 6th grade. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
but my parents were cool as shit.
Obviously.
I think my cousin was 15. So it was the first concert. Yeah, but they picked me up too. So.
My first
I didn't
concert
even know
was
who
Huey
Bruce
Lewis.
Springsteen.
Huey Lewis and
Huey
the
Lewis
News.
and the News. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so hold on. So
You got
Bruce
Memories.
Springsteen?
I was a freshman.
Memories.
I got
He was
to- I was
back
a
up.
freshman in college, first semester, and I was living in a dorm at Rutgers. And the way things worked in New Jersey is you had to be 21 years old to drink. However, it's hard to explain this, but on the Rutgers campus, students could drink at 18.
Mhm.
They couldn't walk down the street to the nearest bar and buy a drink. But in the dorm or a fraternity house, if the dorm or fraternity house bought a keg, you could drink because you weren't buying. It's like a club thing. I mean, it was strange. I didn't quite get it. Even now, it's
What
hard
year was this?
Well, that would have been the fall of 1967.
Okay, well, forget that. I'm not that old yet.
No, you're not. Clearly,
No.
you were 6 years old when you went to see. So okay,
16.
so
I mean,
so
6.
it was regular that fraternity houses and dorms would sponsor parties with bands,
Wait, 6.
and
12.
so we had some pretty good bands. Okay, so it's 67. Somewhere maybe I can't remember how long ago. Let's say 10 years ago, out of the blue, I was contacted by a guy I knew from my first 2 years at Rutgers, and we had lost touch. Blanking out his name, right? Ed was his first name, as I recall. And he was living in Milwaukee. He had gotten a PhD in environmental science, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And many years later, he was working in Wisconsin. I can't exactly remember his particular job, but it sounded fascinating. And so he and his family were in Milwaukee, and somehow or other, he'd come across my work and realized I was just 2 hours north in Green Bay. So he contacted me with the idea that we should get together. And he said he would be coming up to the Green Bay area. Let's try to spend the afternoon together. So he came up, we went to the student union, we spent the afternoon having coffee and stuff. And he said, by the way, did you know that you met Bruce Springsteen? I said, what? He goes, yeah, he was the president of our dorm association when we were freshmen.
Oh, that's funny.
And one of the bands that he interviewed was Bruce Springsteen's band from the Asbury Park area.
Oh, I see.
Cool.
So, and I was in that meeting with him, and I didn't make much of it. I mean, Bruce Springsteen was nobody in 1967, but then there you go. Many years later,
I like that you had to be told that you met Bruce Springsteen.
right.
Harvey,
I've
do you know?
seen you. Oops, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No.
Harvey, I've seen you many times on Nicole Sandler's show.
Oh, I used to love doing Nicole's show.
Yeah,
She
Nicole.
got really angry with me because I was advising. I'm pretty sure it had to do with me advising Marianne Williamson.
Well, maybe she's over it now, but she has met everyone who is anyone.
Oh,
and
she actually began in
my
music
God.
radio.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's got pictures of herself with everyone on the planet.
And we had
That
a
was
shared
somebody.
affection. Nicole and I have a shared affection
Yeah.
for Jackson Brown.
Yeah. Oh,
Jackson
yeah.
Brown and I were born. He's a year older than I am, but both born on October 9th, as was John Lennon and the Count from Sesame Street, just for the record.
That's awesome.
Well, I'll have to talk to Nicole then. I'm just going to say, hey, listen.
Oh, please do say that you had a conversation with me the other
I
day.
will, because that's ridiculous. It should go away.
Yep.
I was going to ask, do you know Roger Staubach?
Do I personally know him?
No, do you know who he is? The quarterback.
Sure.
Yeah.
Staubach played for the Navy, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm
and
from
then he
Annapolis.
went into the Navy and then came out. And did he play for Dallas? No, who did he play for?
Dallas, yeah.
He did play for Dallas.
So my grandfather was an assistant coach for Navy football.
No
And
kidding.
so
Yeah.
one time,
wild.
this is in the 80s, I was a little kid. We're all having like one of these traditional summer barbecues that we always had. And here comes Roger Staubach, just walks into the backyard and said, I was in town and I wanted to say hi. It was the coolest.
Oh, that's cool.
That is pretty
And
cool.
it was amazing. My grandfather took a famous picture of him, like in that traditional pose where you're leaning back, getting ready to
Oh,
throw
sure.
the ball.
Yeah.
And he put him on a wave.
Oh.
And he like, there was no Photoshop when he did this.
Yeah.
Black and white photo. And so that became kind of like a famous photo of him. And yeah, anyway, it was
Cool.
random. But
Absolutely.
that's as close as I've come to being like,
Did Staubach first, when he came, if you remember anything, did he first come back and play for a Canadian team and then come to Dallas, or did he go straight to Dallas?
I don't know.
I
I
remember
know
there
he
was
was
some-
3 years
something
at
like
Navy.
that, a similar player who was out of the service academies who, anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's funny. Somebody was just asking me what my first concert was, and I said it was Huey Lewis and the News, and they were like, "Who?"
Oh,
I thought they were way
That's
more popular
sad.
than that.
They
Ugh.
were.
That's what I thought.
We're getting old, Matt.
Well, you're telling
Shit.
me. Yeah, I feel
So
it.
when I got to London in 71, fall of 71, I ended up by accident going to a concert at one of the big cricket grounds where the Who was with the Who. I mean, that might have been my first concert in London.
Cricket grounds. This
hell of
is
a
like a
first
football
concert.
stadium by American
Yeah, it was big.
translation. Or
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
And then
this isn't like a small park where
No, it wasn't
crickets
like
were
county cricket. It was
nurtured and
like
allowed
county
to make
cricket.
noise. Okay.
it
Big.
would have been like where the big test matches were played, I guess, or whatever. And then I went with a group of Canadian. At that point in my life, they were girls because they were like 19, 18-year-old. To a he was then known as Cat Stevens concert.
Yes,
Okay.
my favorite. I loved him so much.
This was this was just around the time that he was just really big after those early
God,
stuff.
I loved him so much.
And I loved his stuff back then.
Me too.
And then
I still do.
look. First of all, Andrea, I'm going to need your help. You have got to ask the professor. Excuse me, Harvey K, which I am allowed to call him now. You've got to ask a forward-facing question because I have it on my checklist of things to ask. But here's the thing. This entire time, I've been trying not to do something on camera that will get us demonetized because I'm
Thank you.
riddled with COVID.
Oh.
It's a gamble on any end, frankly.
Are we talking about vomiting?
Yeah.
Are
Amongst others.
You're
Would we
that
get in
sick?
trouble for that? Because I would like to watch.
No, thank
it
you,
would,
Andrea.
It would be a personal low point to me to embarrass myself in front of Harvey K.
I feel so
I had my
bad for
finger-
you, Shay.
I had my finger on the remove from.
are you really on the
stage.
verge of throwing up?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I have thought of a way to avoid voiding myself in front of Harvey K. And here's how.
Jake's it. That's called a Jake's it.
Oh, poor baby.
Classic.
Jake doesn't say goodbye.
He's a little
And he- and
shy.
he's
you
sick.
know?
He doesn't feel good.
Jake doesn't know how to end things.
My wife and I
On his
celebrate-
show, he says every day at the end of his show, "What can you do?" And then he just leaves. You know.
Hey, Harvey, I have a question.
Sure.
So, you're a historian, but if you were to look in the future, and I'm not saying how far, what will the history books say about right now?
That's a big one.
And
It's
is
a
right
big one.
now like 2020 to 2024, or is it
Yes.
just
This
leading
era,
up to?
this era, right
Well,
now, what would
let me put it this
history
way.
say?
It's
with
all
these-
going to depend on which cohort of historians get to write that history.
Well, we don't want the Christian Nationalist Library version.
Let's say it's after this aristocratic paradigm collapses. Let's say it's post.
Oh, you want to talk collapse?
Well, after whoever's writing it, it's like, remember when there was like a few billionaires and they just kind of ruined everything all the time, and
Well,
the
I'd like
economy
to-
didn't
As
work
someone
for the
that plans
people.
on being there post collapse, you know, I'm
I
still pretty
know.
young. I'll be the one writing it. So just
Okay.
let me know
You'll
what
be
you
the
want me to
one
write.
living it, baby. I
Well,
know.
even now,
I
I
know.
in similar way, it's always amazing to me how people
You and my
frame time periods.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought is, you were sort of projecting a question: how would people in the future address this time period? So will they address it in terms of like I find people failing to appreciate? No, let me put it this way: I have worried that people who have grown up were born and grown up in these last 50 years imagine this is the way things have to be or are likely to be. And I can tell you that I was born, whatever was transpiring in the late 40s through the 50s and stuff, the fact is there were periods of real hope.
Yeah, well, now
Okay.
there aren't.
In other words, it was not there was undeniable question of fear. My generation grew up under the threat of a nuclear war. Undeniably, there was still Jim Crow in the South and all of that. But by the time of that 50s into the 60s, for all of the nightmarish stuff, it was also the case that people had expectations that the future, first of all, would be decidedly better. I think there really was an expectation that apartheid in the southern United States was going to end. That's what enabled the civil rights movement to grow as it did. I believe that the labor movement really did believe that the idea of an economic bill of rights would be a 60s or 70s development. National health care, for sure, when I was graduating college in 71, I had little doubt was coming. Okay. So it was that time of hope. Okay. But what I'm getting at is how will people address the period of the late 70s, mid to late 70s, or even earlier for that matter, through to our current period? Like, I don't see Trump as a consequence of the failures of Obama. I don't see it. I see it as a consequence of 50 years of class war on working people.
Okay.
In which the Democrats from the time of Carter on turned their backs on the FDR tradition and legacy. And as a consequence, allowed the right to take certain understandings of America and utterly pervert them, hijack them, and pervert them. So that by the time we get to 2016, let's go right to 2016. By the time we get there, especially in places like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, working people, especially white working people, I'm sure black working people felt very similarly, but they were not about to go vote Republican, whereas white working people were so pissed off with what the Democrats had allowed to happen that they themselves had signed on to at NAFTA. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my
the
God.
whole array of initiatives of the Clinton era, the ending of aid to families with dependent children. I mean, all the mass incarceration over and over again. The Clintonites literally destroyed what remained of the legacy. Carter began it. Reagan did his best to go after it, but the Clinton period was devastating.
Neoliberalism on steroids.
Exactly. Carter was the pioneering neoliberal president. Yep. Reagan no one would say he was neoliberal, but his whole regime was basically neoliberal. And Clinton pushed through the changes, and I could go on and on. So the point is, working people in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, they just by the time of 2016, they wanted to punch Democrats in the nose in some way. And they were, by the way, if Bernie had been the candidate in 2016, the Democrats would have won.
Oh, it would have been a
He
landslide.
was the.
No.
Oh, if he was the candidate,
if he
right?
was the
right.
candidate for the
Oh no, they
Democratic
kept
Party.
him out. I know. I was
Right.
in
So
Philly.
then-
The
there.
polls were like Bernie, like plus double digits.
He was
you
the
know,
most
like-
popular figure political figure in America.
hmm
Folks who were prepared to vote for Obama, but then voted for Trump, would have voted for Bernie like that. So
That was
what I'm
my
saying
first
is-
election. I voted for Bernard.
So, I mean, I told Marianne Williamson when I was working, she and I began that relationship, a friend and friends, and I was her advisor. I said, she asked me, should I run for president? And I said, yes. She said, would you be willing to work with me and defend me, kind of thing? And I said, yes. I don't know if I can endorse you yet because I'm waiting to hear from Bernie. I don't know Bernie personally, but I was waiting to hear what is he going to do about that upcoming election. And, that never happened. That never came. In fact, he quickly endorsed Biden. He and all the rest of the progressives in Congress endorsed Biden almost immediately. But to come back to your question, I think it's important for people to see the period from, say, the early 70s, especially 76 to today, as a period of neoliberalism, a period of class war on working people. And I don't think neoliberalism is as dead as people think it is. Okay,
It's
at all.
not dead.
Right. And I think the only way it will be wiped away, killed off, buried, will be if this surge in the labor union movement really becomes not just a surge, but a wave.
Yeah.
Because right now it's not a wave yet. Keep in mind that the UAW and the Teamsters won victories, one by way of a threat of a strike, the other by way of a strike. Amazon has won victories, but I mean, the Amazon Labor Union, led by Chris Smalls, they won a victory, and they're still struggling in certain locales, but Amazon's not organized. The Starbucks it's amazing. They actually got the Starbucks
making
union got
strides.
Starbucks to agree to take them seriously.
Yeah.
But it's not over yet. Okay. We'll see how long it takes to come up with real recognition and a contract. So, if the breakthrough from labor would occur, then I think we can say there are real possibilities. But as Matt and I were talking before, I think labor in the course of this surge needs to cultivate a vision. I think the vision should be a vision of the Economic Bill of Rights, and I'll still work on that.
How does the Economic Bill of Rights meld with our climate crisis?
If you look at the 10 items, one of the items
I have to. I did not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because one of the items is the right to
A clean environment and a healthy planet.
Remember, these are not policy initiatives. These are basic rights. The policies would emanate from these kinds of.
What you do is you put departments in charge of each one of these things, right? Or, I mean, each one of these things becomes like its own movement or its own organization.
I mean, the whole thing would imply a dynamic and an understanding that Americans would come to understand that they can make history in this way, and basically life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what it's all about.
Okay.
I should probably get going.
Yep.
You guys are great. I hope I can come back sometime.
I was just going to say, anytime.
I'd have
really.
you as a guest also
Feel
if you
free
want
to
to talk
join
about
the
climate.
roster.
Sorry, what's
Be
that?
the new host, everything, it's all good. We'll just turn the show into you talking, and I'm in.
I thank you. I could too easily talk, but I don't want to be a host.
No, I get it.
I don't want to be a host.
Well, yeah, open invite anytime.
When Nomi Key left her show, she said, "Do you want to take over my show?" I said, "I don't want to take over anybody's show. I like being a guest, not a."
I'll take over Nomiki's show.
Well, I don't know if people remember it any longer. So.
Oh, I think.
I just had her on. I just interviewed her. So
yes,
she was excited to know that you and I were going to be doing this tonight.
Very
nice. Cool. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure to be able to, share the same space as you.
Now
Thank
you're
you.
gonna really get to my head with that kind of talk.
Well, if you ever have the nerve, check out my channel, Environmental Coffee House.
I
You
might
have
well.
to have, you need intestinal fortitude.
I will tell you. I mean, I'll take just a couple of minutes. I haven't heard my wife bang on the wall or anything yet. So, the university that I taught at for 3 years, University of Wisconsin Green Bay, was established in 1965 as the Environmental University.
Mm.
So it had a mission of addressing the environment in every department across the board. And Harper's Magazine back in, this is way before I was there. I didn't come to the university till 78. Well, it seemed like a long time before I arrived. In 71, Harper's ran an issue, a major article, and they called our university Eco-U. Ecology U was the thing. And for many years, we had a great environmental science program, and a number of social science initiatives were pursued in those terms. And I was part of an effort to try to create a graduate program called Global Ecology. But, the conservatives took, every time, year upon year upon year, the conservatives took this away from the university and that away. So anyhow.
And then we are here.
Yes, now we are here.
Now we are here.
Well, thanks for
Okay.
coming on. Really
Well, I'll talk
appreciate
to
it.
you soon, Matt, for us to see when next we want to workshop our ideas. Okay.
Yeah, let's
I'm
connect.
excited for the comic.
Yeah, me too. And I'm
Same.
not a comic book person, but I become one.
You will be.
How many shows have we done now? we're
This is 21.
21.
Well, now
And-
you're at the age
yeah.
of majority, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think we should start with
I'm
the
at the
Economic
age of
Bill of
Mother
Rights.
Earth.
We
Yeah,
do a
so we
short
can talk
comic
next
about that
time.
one. Yeah.
Okay. So we know the ultimate thing is to do a major piece on Paine and the American Promise.
Yeah.
But maybe more immediately, we should quickly get to the Economic Bill of Rights.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
Can do.
We
Could have
can-
it done by tomorrow.
Right.
I will make sure I peruse the entire thing, and we'll talk about the environmental aspect
You're going to
of it.
become a disciple. Watch.
So Matt, just before we go, so let's try to talk next week.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Have a good trip up to Maryland.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Take care.
Bye, Harvey.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you
on.
very, very much for having me.
This was a real treat.
Thank you for coming on.
All
That was
right.
great, right? How great was that?
Yeah,
There's the
I
balloons.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed
What
the
the
sort
fuck
of
is that?
listening about Norman Lear, and it just reminded me, when I talk about my grandfather, my mother was estranged from him until very late, but I do remember what he did. I remember those things from my very young childhood about asking him when the things were going to be on, TV shows were going to be on.
I was definitely one of
shit.
those kids that was like, come home from school, turn on the TV, do your homework, whatever you're going to do, eat dinner. The TV, I was just allowed to have it on. This is like the luxury of having parents who work. I could just sit there with the TV, and it was just like MASH, Taxi, all the Norman Lear shows, all the
They were
Frank
so
Marshall
good.
shows. It was just like
They were
endless
so good.
amounts. Yeah.
I don't know what it's like now because I don't watch TV. I have not a clue. It's been years. I haven't seen a sitcom.
Not even streaming?
No, I don't. I have really, my focus was, throughout my career, I didn't watch a lot of stuff. I was really focused on always studying. I mean, I would watch, I can't remember that much, but I
There's-
know I loved The Walking Dead when that came
There's
on.
a couple of things on right now that are based, you can never be 100% sure how accurate they're being, but there's one about Christian Dior and Coco Chanel during World War II called The New Look, and it's fascinating.
It's on network?
It's on Apple TV. This is what I'm saying. It's
okay.
like
Yeah,
network is dead.
right.
Even
that's
when
what
that
my
stuff
point.
shows up on streaming, I'm like, forget it. But that's why I was saying, like, do
Yeah.
you even? So
No, I will. Yes, I watch
highly
streaming shows.
recommend this show because it's just there just happens to be a couple of shows out right now that are based in like historical document. I'm spacing the correct term, but
Yeah.
that's one. The other one, it's on Hulu. It's about Truman Capote and all the gossip that he would write and publish about these high society wives that he hung out with and went to luncheons with and stuff like that. And it is fascinating. And again, it's like you always have to wonder, like, how much of this is accurate? But at least with Truman Capote, when he would write this stuff, you would be asking those questions. So anyway, I just think that shit is fascinating. Are you a fan of Truman Capote, Andrea?
I don't know. I might be.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, In Cold Blood, those books?
Haven't seen them.
Have you read them? Oh,
haven't
okay.
read 'em.
So Truman Capote was a small man who talked like this. And like everyone, like Philip Seymour Hoffman played him, Tom Hollander's playing him, some other people have played him. And it's always like, how are they going to do the voice, right? Because it was a very distinct voice and personality. But he was very, to me, it's like whatever you think about his how tacky it was that he would do this gossip about people he would call his friends, you know? He would have like a big party and film it. And they'd be like, is this going to be on tape? He's like, no. And then he would look at the camera and be like, yes, it is. Right? Like he was doing that shit back in the, black and white film days. But he was super cool. It was just something about the way he carried himself. It was just like, he is really, really, really cool. And his writing is amazing. So
Amazing.
Anyway, definitely
And there's
flamboyant.
a show about it?
Yeah, it's called something like Truman
The Truman Show.
Truman Capote
Or
and
there was-
no, it's
No,
like
not
I love
that.
the Truman Show.
Truman
That was
Capote
something different.
versus the Swans or something. It's Gus Van Sant is doing it. It's
All right.
fantastic because it's like
Put a link in our little notes to each other so I can check it out.
I will. It's like the women playing. So these are like female celebrities who are trying to hold on to their youth. Right. And it's like CZ Guest, who was like a fashion icon. A lot of Susan Sarandon's playing Betty Davis
Really?
in it.
Okay.
But like all these people, like Naomi Watts plays one of the main ones, Callista Flockhart, Demi Moore,
Oh, they're getting all the big names.
Diane Lane, and it's like these women are presently female celebrities who are kind of trying to hold on to their youth, playing these female celebrities who are trying to hold on to their youth. It's very, very well done. It's a fantastic show.
Holding on to your youth is not all it's cracked up
Surgery.
to be.
I mean, yeah, like
Oh, they do that, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't. I'll go
I'm
right in
holding
there.
on.
No.
I'm not letting go. You can't make me.
Oh, your youth is beautiful.
okay, Andrea, we didn't get your first concert.
Oh, my first concert was Slash.
Solo?
Really?
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's cool. I think my kid would have liked that. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
cool.
a music everything her whole entire life. Yes. Cool.
Oh, it's called Feud. I was sitting here trying to figure out
Feud.
the name of that damn show.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. So anything happening anybody wants to particularly chit chat about tonight before we
I
end?
was hoping to see, well, I'll ask Jake next time. The Nikki Haley dropped out, but she did not endorse anyone.
No.
I
I
was
didn't
kind of
watch it.
waiting to see like what's going to happen there. If you had any thoughts, how long we are going to wait. But I wanted to get your opinions on the and we don't have to talk about this, just suggesting. I want to get your
Hit me.
opinions on the uncommitted vote, because I saw like Harvey K had some dialogue about that, and I saw in the chat that Andrea, you said you agreed with him, right? Like you would have
Yeah, I
rather
think
those votes go
uncommitted-
somewhere.
Like, my opinion is uncommitted. You know, it's a protest vote, which ultimately doesn't really mean much, right? Now, I personally, Harvey was tangentially related to Marianne's campaign. I was not impressed with Marianne's campaign. I liked it from the jump. But, like, as it progressed, it clearly, they didn't hit the markers they needed to, right? But generally speaking, strategy-wise, I think voting for a person is better than uncommitted as a general strategy. I'm not convinced that Marianne would be like the perfect avatar for that. Like Bernie, I think was a more, yeah, vote for Bernie. Anything else is just kind of wasting your time. But I don't think Marianne had the energy in order to like kind of take that mantle. Like she should have been going hardcore on the ceasefire since October 7th. You know what I mean? Like if she would have been doing that, just nonstop harping on it, you know, and doing these big, let's say Marianne goes to a protest or like some major event or something. And, you know, then she could have had that energy, but she didn't meet that moment. And also I'm not convinced that Marianne will be, someone moving into the next cycle. I would, you know, I'm open to it, but so generally speaking, though, I do like the strategy of voting for a person over uncommitted.
Okay, that's what I was asking. The strategy, because I don't think we've seen this. Unprecedented, right? Have we seen this sort of?
And the thing about the uncommitted was it got attention. Whereas a lot of people, you know, okay, this one voted for that one, but it got attention.
Like
it got the
write-ins
attention.
never get attention because that's
like
too
because
few.
you write in Vermin Supreme. I mean, this got attention. Everyone in the world knew this happened, and so it did. I do know about it. I see foreign newspapers. It happened.
There was Minnesota. Whoever was organizing it and trying to get people to vote uncommitted in Minnesota, they were hoping for 5,000 uncommitted votes, and they got 45,000.
Yeah, so it made it, you know, and look, that's why we have the freedom to do those things in this country right now.
I think what I hate is the spin that's put on it that, oh, uncommitted. These are all the people who aren't going to vote for you in November. When actually, what they
fucking dumb.
They should be
it's a
saying
primary.
They should be saying these are the people who would vote for you in November. They're making them. They're holding their hands up, saying we will vote for you if this. Not we're not voting for you. You're gonna lose. What they're saying is there's a political cost.
Said it.
There's a greater political cost at the moment for not course correcting than there would have been if you had, at a minimum, put conditions on your support for Israel.
I agree with you.
How do you think this could be used in the future? Do you think people will try this again and then everyone will be like, darn it, I'm going to do uncommitted this time?
Yes.
Well, if if we have a primary in the future, you know, unconfirmed if that's going to happen, I'm hoping that we have a candidate to vote for, you know, next time.
In the future.
Ideally, we're not voting uncommitted, you know, like in a best case scenario, you know, we're rallying behind, you know, an actual human that could win something.
Yeah.
We're in a real conundrum, though. You know, we have Gaza, we have a horror going on, but yet on the other side, we have change that we may not be able to come back from ever in the country, where it would take away a lot of our rights. So there's, I mean, it's probably a foremost issue, but it's not the only issue. There are so many of them, and people forget about the climate crisis in that if we don't have a livable climate, it's not going to matter. Anything is not going to matter.
It's all over. I just want to clarify to the chat, I have a knot in my hair. So if you see me doing this the whole day, you know, that's why. I'm just trying to get this goddamn knot out. So there's people in the chat who are trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing here.
You heard it here first, folks.
Okay.
And I got most of it out. So, you know.
Sandy, I think
all right, Andrea.
One major thing we need to do is address the mass global denial around climate change, and that it is funded by the fossil fuel industry.
It sure is.
And that directly leads to the problematic lobbying industry. But getting back to this thing that we were just saying about upcoming elections, and
I do like that circle you just did, though, the lobbying industry.
Yeah, I mean, you got to bring it back to that's the and then that, because if you fix lobbying, now you're on the path to fixing healthcare, And the insurance lobbying is like the worst. So anyway, what we were just saying about elections, I keep asking my guests lately about this tweet from David Sirota. He says, kind of wild how all the big time elected Dems who coulda successfully challenged Biden for the nomination instead sat out, waiting to run in future elections that they say probably won't even happen if the party
Right.
now loses in 2024 and democracy is ended. So like that, I think is, I don't know, you could say it's hyperbolic or whatever, but I think that all these, it does show you the silliness that it exposes the silliness in electoral politics where it's not my time to run. Whereas I would like it better.
Sure.
Like they say, oh my God, look at how many people are up on the stage. This is stupid. And I'm like, no, we should have a room full of candidates. Get fucking everybody up there.
I would like
Yes.
to announce I'm running for president in 2032.
That's what I'm talking about. See, it's dumb to have 15 people on a debate stage when the questions are asked by Fox News or MSNBC, and
Yeah.
and then the
It's a
ads
joke.
between the breaks are insurance companies and gas, and you know what I'm saying? It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. But if it
Yeah,
was legit,
But remember, it's not legit. Remember, the DNC is all powerful, and it seems to me like I don't know what leverage there is, who holds the power to make these people step back.
but what are the people saying democracy will end if we lose doing
Nothing.
about besides saying that, like scare tactic? What are they actually doing? Because good Lord, if Joe Biden embraced the economic Bill of Rights from the outset and made the last 4 years all about that, people would be like, man, he's leading a genocide, but the
Well,
economic Bill of Rights is pretty great.
yeah.
No,
I've
but
got
he,
to
in
look at the
theory,
whole
if he was
thing.
doing one, he wouldn't do the other, which explains why he's not doing an economic Bill of Rights.
Who would be positioned in that's in Congress now to look at this as a serious running issue?
I don't
Who-
think
who might.
I don't think I could pick somebody from Congress. Could you,
No.
Andrea?
I don't
There's
know. I
plenty
don't
of
even think it
governors
would
out
be
there, I
Ro
think.
Connor.
Who
Nah,
would
he
run
wouldn't. He's full of
right
shit.
now, even though the primaries are like pretty much over?
Or like coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Well, I would go for Gretchen Whitmer, but she's a cuck. She was like, "Oh, I gotta vote for Biden."
What about Josh Shapiro?
Right? He's all right. I don't know too much about him.
I don't know. I certainly know it wouldn't be Kathy Hochul, my governor.
Yo, I'm down to
She's the
talk about
neoliberal
she's deploying
neoliberal.
the fucking military to guard the subway. Like there's fucking gangsters with machine guns like fucking guarding the subway. Like what the fuck? That
Kathy-
bitch is on drugs, man.
Kathy is the
should
neoliberal, corporatist, leaning right governor of New York.
Yo,
Yeah.
can we talk about this comment from Jan, by the way? I'm sorry, but it's
Jan,
getting a
are
little
you-
silly. So we got
Jan,
this comment
stop.
from Jan. When you are live, you don't continually pick your scalp. I got a knot in my hair. Like, what the fuck, man? Like,
We
why are you so
all
goddamn
accept-
triggered?
I
What
don't
is your
know why
problem,
she is.
dude? And I'm gonna keep
Jan,
doing it
come
until
on.
it's done. Like, once I go to sleep, it's only gonna get worse when I'm sleeping.
I
It's
didn't even
fucking now
notice.
or never.
I'm sitting right here and I didn't know.
Well, we're with her every week. We don't notice. Geez, where's the pens in the hair?
Well, yeah, that's why I have all the knots.
I was saying on
Aw,
Twitter,
baby.
I don't get any action on Twitter because every other tweet from me is Twitter fucking sucks. Why are we here? Get away. So I think they're suppressing my tweets. But
I'm
think-
definitely being suppressed.
I see all your tweets.
I'm suppressed. I'm
Yeah, we're
oppressed.
in,
Oh, you see my tweets, and
we're in a
yet I get
corner.
no retweets.
I don't
no
see
likes.
yours. I see
What?
his. I see
Mine.
Matt's because he shows up in my feed, and I'm in the hardcore climate doomer feed. And
So-
Matt shows up, and I share his stuff.
So what do you think about this though? Like everyone's like, I'm so mad at AOC. I feel like every other week somebody's mad at AOC. I've said it, and I've
Uh-huh.
rightly been criticized for saying this because I think it's worthy of criticism. But I think once you are a cog in the machine and the machine is designed to do bad stuff, you're just a cog in the machine. It's not like it's once you're elected, you are at least systemically corrupt. The
They have no
government,
choice, right? Because she has no choice
I
but to
mean,
go
well,
along,
I don't know why, but my point is
which is what I was saying. The DNC
I hate the
power.
system. Yeah, I mean the
Well, of
system
course,
is
we hate the system.
okay.
We're
Yeah,
all
but
here
that's
for a reason.
but this is what
I
I'm
think
saying.
AOC personally has completely and utterly failed to meet the moment that she was given. Like, she became an internet celebrity politician
Yeah.
and then just immediately was like, I don't want to do this.
I
Like, I don't
never
know, man. I
had-
get it. It's stressful, but like, also, we kind of have no one else. So, can you just kind of put it aside and be Jesus Christ here for a moment? But
I never
she
had
is not
those
that.
expectations because once they were elected, I was like, politician. Good luck. We'll see how you do. Probably going to be disappointing. But what we failed over and over and over, no one talks about this, at least not that I see, and I'm talking to a lot of people. It was a grassroots campaign.
Mhm.
It can be done. Now, what do I mean by grassroots? Me, you, us. We
Yeah.
are the grassroots.
I donated to her when
hold-
she was going against that fucking Crowley motherfucker.
And Ro
I don't
kind of
even live
supported
there.
him, by the way. But this is what I'm. He
Yeah,
remember he
yeah,
endorsed Crowley,
yeah,
and we all got
yeah.
mad, and he was like, "Oh
Yeah,
no, I
Joe-
endorse her too." And it was like, "All right, dude."
Yeah.
But the thing is that we have to remember we have the power to get people elected without the super PACs and everything. That was forgotten overnight because the mainstream media was like, wait, who's AOC? Or who's Andrea Ocasio-Cortez? Let's call her AOC. And now everyone calls her AOC and they don't even know what her name is. And they don't even know like that she was elected through grassroots funding. You know what I mean? Like that was the message that
well,
it
maybe
can be
she
done.
needs to do the message again.
No, we should have elected somebody else.
Yeah.
Get her out. Get somebody
I
else
like
in.
her. She's a lot better than a lot of others. I mean, in
No, I'm
that
saying-
there's
okay.
you know who's running in that district against her?
That's not the point I'm making, but go ahead.
I know. No, it's okay. Make your
I agree
point.
with Matt here.
I do. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying there's it gets overwhelming because there's so much worse out there. And yes, we need grassroots efforts
Yeah,
completely.
that's the lesser of two evils again. I'm sick of it.
It never stops. Unless we
That's
get rid of the
why-
things like Citizens United and we get rid of we
Nope.
have to overhaul the whole system.
If we
Whoa.
if people they're always talking about organizing. If you want to organize so much, let's organize around a massive caucus in the House. And you do grassroots, not for one or two, or we'll see we can. I mean, just as Democrats kind
Right.
of paved the way for this and showed the model, kudos, how'd that turn out, right, for them. But like, let's I just think it needs to be talked about more. That's all. It's that
If there's any millionaires watching,
that was the experimental aspect of it where it was like, oh shit, it worked. We did it. Okay. It wasn't like we did it. Now let's make her a celebrity and see how this goes. And then it's like, oh, she's good. She does good stuff. Nothing's getting done from one person or 10 people. We
No,
need like
it's-
100 of these people all at once. It needs
We
to be
need our own
nationwide.
Tea Party.
I mean, I just feel like people have forgotten the greatest point about that. The greatest point about that campaign was that it was grassroots, and that was like I remember saying like, this is the new way, and people were like, what do you mean? And I was like, of electing people,
Mhm.
and if you don't, then do you know what I'm saying?
So we have a list of all that are running with grassroots campaign and taking
No,
no
I
corporate
mean,
money.
as far as I know, there isn't anything going on. That's my.
There's nobody that's not taking.
Oh, I mean,
corporate
there
money.
is. There
that
is
are-
for
yeah.
sure. But I think that
it's all like fucking, different pockets here and there.
Right.
Like,
It's
I think
they
not.
don't
this is where
communicate
people-
and share
It's
information.
not
and
a
resources.
unified force.
yeah, and people are like, oh, I'm running third party and I'm not going to be in the Democrats, so we can't work together. Whereas it's like, yeah, you can. I mean, this is silly Because once you're in Congress, it's not like you're only like, let's say like there's 2 Green Party candidates in Congress. Do they just vote with Green Party? No. So why did you not campaign with Democrats? Everyone should be here's what I envision. Now this could be naive, okay? And like I said, it's open to criticism, please. But what if there was like, and it's not a party, it's not a political party, but what if there was like, let's just say 100 candidates across the country, all running for Congress at the same time, and they're all saying, I'm one of these 100 people. Here's the list. And we're all doing it on grassroots campaign, and we're all in donations, and we're all going to do the exact same thing when we get in office. Let's say like a couple of them are Trojan horses and don't end up following through. If there's 100, I have to assume the majority of them are going to be faithful to their campaign promises. Do you know what I mean? And then that excuse of, oh, well, once you're elected,
well, that's a good
you
idea,
can't
though,
do your
because,
job. That doesn't happen anymore because all those people are like, fuck you.
like,
Right, they're
politics has
not going
become
to,
really nationalized, right? Like, it's in the headline, you know, what's the president? No one gives a fuck about local races. So, like, if you ran, like, a national campaign, but, like, that was designed around local races, you know, so everyone's voting for a different name, but it's still, like, a national campaign. Whereas, like, you know, you have people in every state pooling resources, you know, they're doing ads and everything in the same, everyone's getting promoted in the same boat. You know, that would probably actually be an interesting strategy, because local politics is the most important, like dollar-wise. If you're going to be spending money on politics, you know, local races are the best. But also, everything is really hyper-nationalized, right? And in order to get like resources in certain districts and stuff like that, you would need, you know, resources from people that may live in like California or something that would want to fund a national campaign that would affect people in Missouri, you know?
And you're right, Sandy. Like, I like AOC too a lot. And I like what the squad does, but squad by definition is a small group of people. Right? We need like a zombie horde in government. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see Rolling Stone covers of the zombie horde, and they have to zoom way out
There
so
you
you can't
go.
tell who anybody is because there's that many fucking people. But they all run for office, and then like, you know, if 100 people run for office and 50 of them get elected and 45 of them are faithful to their campaign promises, I think that feels like a big deal to me, especially if they ran on like doing town halls going, hey, tell your friends and family who live all over the country, we're building a caucus like on the front end. We're trying to get into government with the idea that we're all going to work together in there. So we're working together on the campaign trail.
For
I
you,
never see that. Yeah,
for
exactly.
the people.
But I never see that. I always see people running as individuals or with the Democrats. And then you get the DNC and all that crap. It's just horribly
Well, it's
skewed.
a bottom line, getting money out of politics, and it hasn't been done yet. And it's just getting worse, just like all of these things.
And like you
are.
said, Citizens United, this is all bad. But somehow, one or two offs get elected anyway.
Yes.
And I say just use that as the base model for something much, much larger.
Well, there is that group, Move to Amend. They've been active for so long, and they try, and they've tried, and they've tried. If everybody joined Move to Amend, that's one step towards getting rid of.
I hate it when people say MAGA do this well. I hate that, but they're everywhere. School boards, they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's
It
what
turns
I
out
think
like
the
really,
locals
really stupid motherfuckers are easy
are
to convince to do stupid fucking things, and they do it like they jump and leap at the opportunity to do so.
And then
Like
they
in
wanna
order to be
ban
a MAGA
books.
person, you have to be a fucking idiot. There's no other way about it. There's no, oh, but my uncle's really cool, man. Like, no, if you
No, I
vote
agree.
for Trump, you are fucking dumb. You're a fucking little cuck, beta, simp loser, and you're looking for Big Daddy Dick in your face to like walk you around town and make you do whatever he wants, right? That's Republicans, right? Leftists, or people like to the left of Adolf Hitler, you know, which is a surprisingly small amount of this country when you really think about it, you know, a lot of people like being led, but it's not that explicit. It's hard to, you can't just have orange hair and like a small dick and then just wave it around and people just give you all of their life savings, and that's a problem, honestly. Like, so that's why, like, anything like MAGA wise, I don't think you can necessarily replicate it on the left.
Oh, but on Twitter they call it the blue MAGA.
Yeah, I hate that disingenuous,
It
bad
is.
faith bullshit. But Sandy, I just going back to your point that the way it is there, I'm not saying, like, I don't want to dismiss the good that people do within the system. That's why I say, for lack of a better term, it's systemic corruption. It's like you can't help it.
Systemic. Absolutely. And as Harvey was talking about the generations, it's been just roller coaster since the 50s, 60s, 70s, no matter what everybody tried to do in the 60s. In the 60s was really rebelling against the war, and we wanted civil rights.
Here's the other
And
point everyone
yeah.
makes. I'm sick of that too.
Yeah.
I think that, okay, fine. Throw your money away on TV ads. I think there needs to be, we need stop playing their game.
Yeah. Totally.
Make
But
a new game. Make new rules. And I think
I love games.
that campaign, like you guys have seen Knock Down the House, the documentary about the squad.
Shout outs to the Ketchup Queen.
I think I love this show. I think that you don't hear shout outs to the Ketchup Queen anywhere else online. You have to tune into Left Past 10 for that show.
These are
And we
ancient
were
memes.
this show was mentioned on the Majority Report last week.
What did they say?
Matt Bender said he was on Left Past 10.
Is that it?
Andrea, they said Left Past 10
Well, was there a
on
comment?
nice.
Like, like, I had a good time.
Okay, but where are they all?
Go check
Oh.
it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, he
30.
said it was awesome. He said it was a great panel
Awesome.
show. It was really fun.
Hey,
I don't
he
know
said
about
he did a-
awesome. That's a little too much.
We
He
enjoyed
said-
having
It
him.
wasn't
He said,
awesome. It was
"I did
all
a-
right. I don't know about awesome.
I thought it was awesome. He said I did a panel show with the Letter Hack and some
Yeah.
other people on
Oh,
Left
other
Past
people?
10. Yeah.
We
Well,
How's it
enjoyed
going,
having
fellow
him.
other people here? How's
I mean-
everyone doing?
shout out to the
Hi,
Ketchup Queen.
Phil. Hi, fellow.
Yeah.
Got a cigarette?
Isn't it? You know you're in trouble when I'm the clout you're chasing.
Oh,
goddamn.
stop.
That's when it
I'm
gets
not
real.
chasing
You're like, wait,
jack
Matt's
shit.
the popular one? Oh no.
I really fell
Nah,
off.
Stop. Oh my God. I look forward to Wednesday nights because it's definitely out, a break for me. But I also like I like the political aspect of what we talk about, Matt. And I don't
Yeah.
I mean, who is it that can really get on the ground with these to make these grassroots? We tried here, and
I
that, but
think-
it's
It's amazing when, because it happens in these little bursts, and it's amazing when it's like look at just like how people in one state will organize around a candidate. And when I'm having Jen Perlman
Shout outs to John
on.
Fetterman.
Jen Perlman's coming on soon.
okay.
This
That's good.
month.
I
Yeah.
saw she announced she's running for Congress. I don't know if it's House or Senate or whatever, but
I think it's Senate. And so and she has a podcast with a co-host. It's really good.
I think I was on her show at some point. I don't know if she was on my show or I was on hers. I don't remember.
Generational.
Generational with a J.
But I want to ask her
That's her
about
name.
this, but so there's like every now and then I'm like, wow, that's a really impressive number of people who knocked doors and did the legwork. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've done it. It's a lot
Right,
of work. Yeah.
so-
I've knocked on doors.
yeah.
So if there's 100 people, well, I'm just using that number because it sounds good. If there's 100 people across the country running, and probably not all at the same time, right? Running, saying, like, referencing these other campaigns, and it becomes like a big deal. It's like, I guess if it were me, for example, it'd be like, my name is Matt Strackbein and I'm running for Senate. Now,
You already lost me. You
I'm not
gotta
the only
start
one running
something
for
else.
Senate. There's all these other names of people who are running, who have been elected, who are
Mhm.
going to be. You could vote for them coming up in this state, and we are a group of people all running on the exact same things. Yes, we will take into account our respective states or cities or whatever, right? Our local areas. We got to do stuff for our people here, but on the national level, this is what we're running on. This thing. And maybe it is an economic bill of rights, you know what I mean? But it can't be a slogan of we're going to drain the swamp. You know what I mean? It has to be real viable things. And then when you it's like you're always doing three things: saying who I am, what I'm about, and there's more of us. And I hope that inspires everyone else to get on the ground and support us. Go to this website, sign up.
Mhm.
You know how
Well-
Project 2025's website is basically like conservative LinkedIn?
Well, and the Heritage Foundation had a lot of funding behind them
you know,
from the
have
fossil
you-
fuel industry.
Well, you've read Project 2025,
Yes.
right, Sandy? So do you remember on
Yes.
the website where you could like do like your resume? It's like
Yeah.
LinkedIn
Yeah.
for MAGA.
Yeah,
So
for MAGA.
apparently they're not
recruiting.
like that information's not going anywhere so far, but it probably will. So what if it was that, but for supporting these local candidates on a grassroots level? Know what I mean? Like there
Yes.
has to be some central database for we need this. Oh, we've got a bunch of people we could email today and see if they'll show up tomorrow.
Well, I'm really interested in the Economic Bill of Rights, and I'm going to read
yeah.
it, and I'm going to bring it to my friends who are involved around here. You know, being in rural, there's nothing around here, America. The Democrats are very conservative, but I'm still on the committee. They won't let me leave. I represent my little district here, but I don't do anything. That's how do nothing we are because the Republicans win. I'm going to bring them the Economic Bill of Rights. Maybe we can start somewhere. There's a lot of younger people coming in that are from the university around here. Who knows? You know, I mean, I just got disgusted. I was the birdie camp when I got on the committee, you know, and that was okay. They wanted to know all about Bernie and my other girlfriend, who is now the secretary. She also we're the progressive wing. Maybe there's a chance. They won't let me leave. I tried.
I just keep watching
You're
people
stuck.
gather
Yeah.
around. But don't it's like name
What?
one like progressives did not do well on Super Tuesday. Name
I didn't watch any of the stuff. I don't even know yet.
yeah. I mean
Wow.
that's why I'm talking about the uncommitted vote, because that's really the only thing worth talking about.
So I have not. I had to take a couple of days away from politics for the
Good
most
for
part
you.
because it's just well, I think it's all making me physically sick with all the other things that I
That's why I want to get away
consume.
from it. That's why I wish this country was
but we-
actively moving
right.
away from electoral
I read
politics.
the news 2 or 3 times a week. It's been doing
But
me
we're talking
wonders.
about how to change the electoral
That's what I mean.
politics. So
That's
how
what
do
I
you get
mean.
away from it when we need to change it? It needs to change. I say I'm a very dwindling part of it.
Social justice union organizing. Organizing unions with the understanding that it's for social justice. This is the way to get the policy without waiting for the government to enact it. The people organize around labor, and then you can start to make demands and you can start to organize results. It's not just organizing and then what? It's organizing for organized results. And so I think that what I've been hearing in interviews that I have with folks is that you got to do both. Because I keep saying, hasn't the original definition of electoral politics lost its original authority, meaning politics is dead? Just like when they said, who was it? Nietzsche said God is dead. And everyone's like, "Oh, how dare you?" And he's like, "You're just missing." I'm not literally saying that. I'm saying that the term has lost its original authority. And that electoral politics isn't really what it was meant to
No.
be. And democracy is not what it's meant to be. And the economy is supposed to work for the people, not the people working for the economy. And that's what's happening here. And so that's why when you read that Economic Bill of Rights, right before they get to the list, it says we need these folks, democratic socialists and progressives and liberals, to unite around this. And it says nothing about Democrats
Right.
and the Green Party. You know what I mean? I said, well, I know what you're saying, but I
Mhm.
like that it doesn't mention politics and government. The people can do this on their own. Now that you're a progressive and now that you're a fuck it, we're all New Dealers. Let's work for the
Yeah.
Democratic Bill of Rights, right? Like, let's keep promoting the shit out of it in the hopes that somebody a lot smarter and more articulate than me will just say, oh, here's how we do it. And we can be a part of electoral politics and we can be political without being politicians and a cog in the machine.
I think the radical environmentalists need to get involved as well.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody. Yeah,
And
definitely.
they definitely have it going on, and they are having they are starting, they have their networks and progressive causes, even unionization. I mean, progressive causes and environmental causes have to mix somehow. We have to live somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
I
looking
like it.
good though. What Harvey was saying earlier about back in the 60s and 70s and the 50s, people had hope,
Now we call it hopium. I won't
Oh,
even
yeah.
I won't utter the word.
We got
But,
hopium on sale, 70% off.
Yeah. Well, not to be a downer, but it's hard to have that hopium. But if you are involved in something local, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps maybe people can have a little short-term spurt, that, hey, we can do something. Like I just got a little short-term spurt when I get the Economic Bill of Rights, and I'm going to get it to the committee and have it as part of a meeting and have everybody read it, even if
Let
they
us
I know,
are
know how
that'd
that
be great.
goes.
conservative Dems. I mean, believe me, these are very conservative Dems, and except for me and my friend, and but you never know. Like I said, I haven't been in a while, and I'm going on the 9th, so you just never know. Maybe I could have them hand them out.
Like, it's
Slight-
also like you need to confront people like, oh, so you don't want people to have like the Economic Bill of Rights? Like, you don't want people to have
Yeah,
a
there you
clean
go.
environment?
It's
I mean,
slight-
we all know they don't, but like, make them say it.
Remember we were talking about the solar eclipse recently?
Yeah, in
Did
April.
that happen yet?
No, it's in
No,
April.
It's like April 8th or something.
Yep, that's what I'm doing for my
The only
birthday.
solar eclipse I care about is the one in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to the ketchup lady or queen or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I heard this father talking to his son,
And that's never a good
and
sign.
the son was like,
Cat
this
Stevens
kid
song.
was like asking his dad, he's like, can you explain what a solar eclipse is? And he said, no, son. He goes, oh, fuck you then. Get it? No, son.
Yeah, no son. Oh my God. That's funny.
Little solar
That's
eclipse
funny.
humor for you.
Solar eclipse of the sun.
Just waiting to see how the chat reacts.
Yep, just
All right, guys.
all sit
Sigh.
here.
Somebody just said, oh no, sigh.
Put it
Incoming
up on
dad
screen.
joke.
Is Sam
like-
leaving?
Oh my
Is that
God.
what this is?
More like outgoing.
No, I didn't leave yet. Not leaving
Well,
yet.
you were thinking about it.
No, I'm stretching.
Gotta get a good stretch in.
Look,
Yeah.
this is the secret. You can never tell when Matt is just setting up a dad joke.
It's actually
Right.
kind of impressive. You've caught me off guard like twice now in the last couple weeks, So most of the time I pick up on it. But that one you got me. I'm not going to lie to you.
I mean, some of the dad jokes, it's like you can see them coming a mile away. That's
That was
not
one,
a
right?
joke, by the
Oh.
way. No.
All right.
Yeah.
I knew that.
You wait till you're in the right environment. Like if you're in a restaurant, and you're like, I think I'm going to get this to go. I was in a restaurant the other day and the waiter asked if I wanted a box for my food. And I was like, do we really have to fight about it?
Was that it? Was that the joke?
Yes. Do we have to fight about it?
So the waiter says, "Do you want a box?"
Do you
Yeah.
want to?
Do you want a box?
You want a box?
Well,
you
so he
wanna?
said,
Wanna-
"You want two box?"
No,
Or
you
is it
wanna.
Do
Wanna.
you want a
Wanna?
box? Do you
Well,
want
one
a
is
box?
nondescript. It could go either way.
But
Do
it
you
sounds like
wanna?
wanna because he's mumbling. Do you
Right.
wanna?
Do you
Well,
want
when you got a
Do you want a
Mumbly
box
waiter,
for
you
your
know, that's-
leftovers?
You got
It's
a
like,
mumbly
I'd rather
waiter, You
wrestle.
should be fighting them anyway, just for mumbling.
It's like, can we just do rock paper scissors?
I once invented
Ah,
a
it's
fourth option
getting
in
low.
rock paper
Oh,
scissors.
it's getting low.
You what?
I invented a fourth option.
What?
Oh yeah, you did.
You may have heard of it
Punching
because it was
them.
really popular. It's called the gun. You shoot your opponent in the head and then they die. You
Oh,
may
that's
have heard
very
this. I
American of you.
invented it. I invented it.
Okay,
just
so
you all
here's
know.
how that game goes now: rock paper scissors gun.
And
Every
then
Yeah.
time.
I shoot you.
Very
Yeah.
American.
Is that easy? I'm the inventor. I'm laying claim. You may have seen this before. It's possible. That's all me.
Well, I have nothing more to offer the conversation tonight. Really, I don't.
I doubt it
This was awesome,
You
right?
doubt what?
that you have nothing more.
Oh, I could open up a can of worms, but
I'm waiting.
no. we'll
Are you
do it-
looking forward to daylight savings?
Is that happening?
Yes, I like when it's
The
I
10th.
like when it's lighter,
Is
longer.
it? Are we going forward or back now?
We're gonna have lighter,
Bring
longer,
forward.
lighter, longer, which is great.
So
for
when I wake
gardening.
up in the morning, it's going to be
It's-
dark.
Well, maybe at first, but like the thing is you're an hour later now. We're springing forward.
So
I
like
gotta
I can
fucking-
still be gardening without lights at 9:00. I mean, it once it'll happen.
And that's how
like-
it should
yeah.
stay.
Yes,
Did we
it
all
should
vote
stay.
it should stay
I
that way?
voted it's
I'm
for
voting
driving.
with my middle fingers.
You
for
like the way it
driving.
is now?
Light in the morning. I want to wake up at 4:30 and the fucking sun's coming out. That's
Yeah,
my
but
shit.
then it's dark at 4:30.
I don't give a fuck when
Yeah.
it's dark in the afternoon. I'm already asleep by then. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, that's you're the odd man out here. I
Well-
vote for it staying.
Well,
I'm a
they
gardener.
already
We want the
decided.
light.
That
Who
they're gonna, but it's the only reason they haven't done it.
Who's they?
The United States of America said that they are going to do away with the time change, and the only reason why it hasn't happened is because train schedules happen so far out that they were like, well, it'll happen to your latest scheduling date. I'm
All
right
right.
about this, right? Did
I
chat,
don't know.
Is this right?
Well, the
I'm
Senate, I
sure.
know they voted unanimously, and then it got like blocked up in the House. That's what I remember. So
I'll
I
wait
thought it
for the
got
almanac to tell me.
I haven't seen an update, so I could be late on the
But
information.
I love light later in the day.
Me
That is
too,
the
and
only
it's
way to
safer
go.
for driving. My God,
Yeah,
when I go
especially
up
where
to
I am.
Buffalo,
themselves in the car.
I
You
don't want
shouldn't
to
be
kill
driving
myself. I
anyway.
have to go to Buffalo for doctor's appointments, and it sucks to have
You
to
have
drive
to go to the
all
Doctors aren't gonna
fucking
come to
9
you.
PM? What kind of
Nope.
doctors open at 9 p.m.? Give me a
They don't do
break.
house calls.
No, honey, it's a 3-hour round trip when I do it. And
I
it's-
can't leave
it's-
my
it's
house at
It's
5.
far,
It's too dark.
right?
No, you
There's
can't leave
deer
the house at
when you
5?
live.
Do you
not
not
when
have
you live-
lights? You not have a fucking flashlight?
No,
Like,
it's
come on.
rural. It's rural. There are deer
Check
and
this out.
wildlife all over. I don't drive at night very
in the middle of
consistently
nowhere.
either.
You don't have
Me
one of these?
too.
You never
That's
seen
not-
one?
It's illegal. You can't hold a spotlight out of
illegal.
your car unless you're a cop.
Well, I'm not, I got a fucking, you can't see, I got a light right here.
24 hours in my town, and Andrea would be like, okay, this is bullshit. It needs to be lighter later in the
Yeah,
day.
right.
No. Oh, I wouldn't be
I
caught
hear
dead
ya.
in South Carolina. I've been there once.
What about
seen
the
enough.
insects? That we've talked about that before.
Yeah, and
Kill 'em all.
your ant colonies.
Yeah, you don't want to be out here in the dark. Okay.
No, you're
I mean, I wouldn't be out there in the dark. I would be sleeping because I have no like. What is this like?
That's
I
you,
must
Andrea,
go
but
out
you
and play
need more of
kickball
a-
in the front lawn at 7 p.m. Like, what the fuck? Do that at 4 p.m. I don't know.
you need more of
Kickball.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing outside?
of an
It's so important.
experience with nature outside, Andrea.
Just wondering. So goddamn important. Pressing.
Exercise. Ooh.
Yeah, like kickball. And why can't you do
burn.
that at fucking 4 o'clock?
Are you
Oh,
playing
you mean
kickball?
tennis? Tennis
Do you
is
kick
He
in
plays
tennis?
tennis.
tennis is way different than kickball. First of all, you don't need teams.
You don't need
Yeah,
teams. in
Andrea,
my
have you
kickball
ever
either?
played kickball? Ever?
I was bullied in school. They wouldn't let me.
They wouldn't let you.
No, I was
Oh,
picked on. No one wanted to pick me. I was the last kid. No one picked me.
Ugh. You know, I used to. People tried to pick
I
on
didn't
me,
pick
and I
me
was
either.
like, one thing you don't realize, I have an older brother.
I didn't have an older brother.
Don't worry,
no,
Andrea. You're not alone. They didn't pick me either.
What I meant is, you can't bully me. I may be a nerd. I may be a little guy, but I also don't give a shit. And I'm crazy.
That's
What's
true.
a little guy?
I
You
got
are crazy.
far that way. They were like, yeah, he could stay.
Well, once I moved, like once I got into high school, you know, there's a lot more people in high school. Like I developed the persona of like the person who's going to commit a school shooting at any moment. So like people just avoided me.
Wow.
I would have been friends with you right away.
No.
No.
When I hung out with my art friends.
Shit.
Nobody messed with my art friends because I would draw some fucked up cartoons at people too. That was the other thing. I weaponized art early on.
Shit. Did you draw like someone getting a wedgie on their locker so they'd go there
Worse.
in the morning? Oh.
I would draw some amazingly horrible things and it would look like them. So
It's like voodoo, but with paper.
I love Groove Dragon.
I would pass it around at lunch and it would make its way around the whole school by the end of the day. It was like my own little editorial cartoons.
Do we still have any of those? Are
Very
they archived?
interesting.
Yeah, people send them to me all the time. My buddy was like, look at this one. I was like, that is messed up.
Can you share some?
No. Because it was me being
So
like...
that was your protection.
Yeah, and I also had
Yeah.
a huge group of friends, like solid friends. Just so check this out.
I'm checking.
I always talk about how I grew up in my mother's neighborhood. It's where my mother grew up. And she was born in another part of town and then moved there early on. And anyway, that's where I was raised, the same neighborhood she was raised in.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman that lived next door, actually like 2 doors over from my grandparents, my mom's parents. See, I think I mentioned this before, all the street names are named after soldiers who died in World War II because their families lived on that street, which is pretty wild. So like the Melvins lived on Melvin Avenue. The Monterreys lived on Monterey Avenue. That's where I lived. So anyway,
Are you a Monterey?
no, there was Monterey's. But so
Is that like a sea creature?
it's just it's a surname. So there was
Are they knights?
maybe if you go back far enough, but I think they were just Annapolitans. So
I hope they kick in daylight savings time because it's too dark out here.
so there was a family named
It's dark nights.
there was a family that lived next door to my grandparents, my mother's house, and their kids were friends growing up and still are. And my
They're still
grandmother's
growing up. No, I'm
still
sorry.
are friends. My grandmother's best friend lived there, and my grandmother was like this very decent Christian woman. She would never swear or approve of it, except her best friend was allowed to swear and say shit and damn and hell. And my grandmother thought it was the funniest thing in the world. This
of
one
course.
person was allowed to get away with it. That woman was my elementary school lunch lady. She was this, lived in my neighborhood my whole life. Her oldest daughter was my babysitter. She babysat my brothers and I growing up. She just passed away this last week. The funeral
Damn.
is Saturday. And so I had to call her daughter to say, condolences. I'm heartbroken. I've had a picture of your mother on my refrigerator for decades with the rest of my family, because she was family to me. I said I would call her often, even after my grandmother passed away. She said, yeah, I know. And she told me, like, you would stop by to see her whenever you were in town. And I was like, yeah, which I think is kind of like an old school thing to do. I don't know. But when I made the call, she goes, before you say anything, I just want to tell you, everybody's been texting and DMing on Facebook. You're the only person who actually called. And I was like, I said, well, yeah, I mean, I had to reach out to you like that. Like, I just can't see doing it any other way. Although I get this is how it is these days. So I said, I just want to let you know. This is why I brought it up, because I was talking about all my friends, right? All my friends from the neighborhood. I said, just want to let you know, I told all the guys, all the friends I grew up with, we still talk every week. I let them all know that she passed, and just let you know, because we say it was our neighborhood, but it wasn't. It was her neighborhood. It was our mother's neighborhood, and it was our grandmother's neighborhood. And I was like, this was her neighborhood for decades before I came around. And then, I say it's my neighborhood. So.
And then you left.
Did I? But in terms
You've
of
migrated.
I still have family in that neighborhood. But in terms of people, this is my point. And I'm kind of off on a tangent, I know, sorry.
Go for it.
But as much as there's so much like pain and misery in the world. And I think that and a lot of that is from death and innocence, right? Like, we're looking at what, there's a genocide underway. It's right in our face. It's real heavy. It's hard to deal with. And I think that what I realized is, when you don't have closure, when you don't have emotional peace or emotional closure from death, because I don't know these people. I don't know anyone in Palestine, right? But I can feel it for some reason. So when you don't have that closure, that weight, you don't know what to do with that. It's hard to process. This is just me personally, but I think maybe people can relate to this.
I think it's
I'm
relatable
right now.
So I think that when you realize that, here's where I spin it, right? When you realize that that's what's going on, that you're just lacking closure, then for me, I say, okay, well, I'm going to continue to be a force for good in the world. And I'm just one single person. So the next thing that occurs to me is, what can one person do? And is it that big of a force? Well, how about this? I feel this massive heavy weight and loss of life from people I didn't know. So I prefer to, and here's why I just make the universe work for me. I prefer to think of it as, if I feel that massive loss, then I can translate that to, my force for good has an equal weight. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is it? Because I wouldn't feel that loss if it wasn't for my desire to be a compassionate, loving human being. And so when I lose somebody dear to me and like close to me, I realize I got to get closure there. I got to call somebody. I got to reach out. But then we see like tens of thousands of people die. And it's like, well, who do I call? Who do I reach out to? Who do I get closure? Well, it's not about me.
Each other.
That's what I'm saying.
To deal with how it feels. That's what
so
we
there's
do.
Strength in numbers, right?
Yeah, that's what we do with our overwhelming sorrow at the extinction events that are happening with everything on the planet, with the concretization of the planet. We feel that sorrow, and so we've come together to try to rectify that's happening, and it's happening.
Yeah.
And it's horrible loss of people in wars. But we've been, human beings have been at war with the planet for before the industrialized civilization, even, before industries, we were at war with the planet, but it's just gotten worse. And, with our thinking that we have dominion over everything and that everything is just for us.
I also think like it makes disagreements with people real petty. Like, yes, I get pissed off
Yeah.
when some people who are supposed to be leaders in this movement do the wrong thing and say the wrong thing and keep shifting away from it in favor of popularity or money or whatever. But like, I can also just ignore them. Because it just
Powerful
makes
skill to just ignore the
yeah, but
noise.
like,
It's hard.
and this will
Unless you
wear
stay
off.
offline.
Well, this will wear off for sure. But like in the moment, when you're like, wow, somebody's gone, that's huge. Like I knew them my whole life and now they're gone. They're not there anymore. Like that just makes that makes the petty stuff just feel so unimportant.
Yep.
And just so miserably boring. Like
I agree.
boring. Like, because the same day somebody said something about this one progressive, and I was like, oh, I could care less. It's so boring. I want to call them and be like, hey, just want to let you know I saw the online left was getting mad at you again, but anyway, you're boring.
So who are we talking about?
It's obvious. Oh, unless you haven't been online, which
I haven't been online.
good for you. Good for you in that
Last
case.
couple days. I try to log off from like fucking Thursday or Friday
Why did something happen I missed?
to Monday.
Because I've also
just
kind
more
of
the same shit.
Oh, well, I don't get involved in a lot of
Would
the
I
shit.
agree or disagree?
I watch it, but I don't get involved in it. And the same in our community. There's been infighting in the community, the climate community, the environmental community. Trust me, it's just
We had some
fucking
infighting earlier.
humans.
Someone was harassing me for my hair care routine.
Oh, I don't think she meant all that bad. Really, I don't think she meant harm. Jan
I'm
is
very
a
harmed.
progressive.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm so bad
Oh,
and
don't
upset.
be. I'm here for you.
Cry.
I want a hug. Reach out and give you a hug.
We could literally talk about anything on the show in like a 20-minute span. And we can like cover, there could be like 10 topics.
Yeah.
Like, I
So
don't
we
even
just
know
shift
what I
from
was
like
just talking
fucking
about.
genocide to like fucking someone being mean to me in the chat.
Ecocide. Yes. Well, meanness or
Rude, hostile, aggressive,
critiquing.
angry.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
abusive, disgusting.
I didn't like
other. Am I still having that religion debate with Wireless Michael?
Oh,
I don't even know if he's with us tonight.
I don't know. Bring him
I
on
haven't
your show.
forgotten.
Yeah.
I'll
Bring him on.
moderate on your show.
Oh shit.
Ooh, yeah, you would be the moderator. You'd be a good moderator. I think so. Definitely.
I mean, I would prefer no moderators, but also, I mean, I don't know if it would happen without
That's
a
not gonna
moderator.
get
So,
anywhere.
yeah.
All right, listen, I'm going. I'm saying
Okay.
goodnight. And
It's
I
about
love you
damn
guys.
time.
About damn time, because Andrea just wants Matt to all to herself.
Makes
About
sense.
damn
Love
time.
you guys. Thank you, Looney.
All right, Sandy.
And Obsolete Optics. Thanks for moderating. Goodbye, everybody. I love you.
Have a
See
good
you
night.
next week. I thought
Bye-bye.
Harvey K was cool.
You're on Friday, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, I got a really good guest too. A young guy, musician, radical as shit. Oh
Nice.
boy. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. He's
Looking
called
forward to it.
he calls himself the End of the World Party on Twitter. You've probably seen him.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Well, he's
Cool.
going to be my guest Friday night. So
Great.
There you
just
go.
wait. All
Awesome.
right, guys. Love you.
All right.
Bye.
ya.
All right. See ya.
Remember that, Sam Cedar? Love you. Bye-bye. That's funny. It's somebody got off the phone. A caller was like, love you. And he goes, love you. Bye-bye. Like, didn't skip. a beat.
Yeah, sometimes it's just instinctual and habitual,
I think it was the person just was like out of habit.
Yeah,
So,
like who calls someone on the phone unless it's like, your mom or something?
love you.
Like, why,
Bye.
like that's the thing, like Majority Report, you have to call in on the phone, like I only use my phone to talk to the fucking government, you know, when they fucking
Ha-
harass me.
Have you listened to those calls from Kowalski where they'll click over and they're like, I think I know this area code. Who's this? He goes, hey, it's Kowalski from Nebraska. Actually, I'm out in the field and I was just called in because it's the only way I can listen to the show out here. He's like, I wasn't really going to say anything, so just take the next caller.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
Shit's
that's the
funny.
only connection you got.
Yeah. Earlier, I saw him in the chat and I was like, Kowalski, email me. And he did right away. It's awesome.
What did he email you?
I haven't read it yet because I'm focused on the show.
You're focused on the show. You don't read emails. That's a red line. Can't do it.
I want to put my full focus and attention on the email. So
I mean, you could just open it up, see the gist, you know, get a little excited. Ooh, what's in there?
Not how I operate. All or nothing.
Okay. No spoilers.
I want to have. I would love to do this eventually. This is not why I was trying to reach out or get Kowalski in contact with me. I would love to have on Majority Report All Stars, like that episode. Where it's like Dave from Jamaica, Bro Flamingo, John from San Antonio, Kowalski from Nebraska, Teacher Lauren. Right?
All
That'd
at once?
be cool. Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, now we're talking?
Be cool, right?
Yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
It'll never happen. Well, I don't know. I mean,
No
they do
chance.
stay on hold quite a bit with the Majority Report. I'm
That's
asking
true.
them for literal on-air time.
Yeah, like exchange, it's a conversion rate, you know, like 10 minutes of being on hold, give us 5 minutes of not being on hold.
I invited somebody on my show and like confirmed the date and time today, and then somebody in the chat was like, "Hey, I heard so and so is coming on your show." So they must already be on their show talking about it. That's what I'm talking about.
Who was it?
Jen Perlman.
What?
Jen Perlman
Oh, shit.
and her co-host.
God damn.
Yeah. Peter Hager? Peter Hager?
Good old Pete.
Yeah. Good old Peter. See, you were on that show?
Yeah, it's something like, it had to have been years ago. Yeah.
Maybe we should call that MR All-Star show Not on Hold show. The
That would be
finally
good.
off hold.
But we have to do it so everyone's still calling in from a phone. So, like, they sound like fucking dog shit. Because that's part of it, you know?
I could just click some buttons on this end and make people sound bad, actually.
That's true. You do that to me all the time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've seen
All
the
the
tape.
time.
Oh, yeah. Right now. in
You've
fact.
seen the tape.
Yeah, you're ruining my appearance right now.
What are we doing here?
I don't know. Is this on? Is this still on?
12:13 a.m. on the East Coast. Getting later and later. Want to call it?
I took a nap today. I learned my lesson. My Wednesday is my nap day. So I'm ready to go.
Okay. There was one super chat from when Harvey K was on, and we didn't get to it, but it was for him. Do you want to do it?
As in, do I get the money?
Jules T, $5. Harvey, how would you compare the civil rights movement of the 60s and now, such as BLM? Well, I think that there's a lot more opportunity to hijack a movement now than there was the civil rights specific. I think they had a lot of opposition, but there weren't that many people hijacking that movement. What do you think?
Well, there were a lot of wreckers, but I do think that there's a lot more wreckers nowadays, and there's a lot more avenues as well. for people. Like they just want to cause damage, you know, like with the internet, you can just cause a lot of damage without even getting out of your house, you know, to break up stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who are like pro BLM, like corporations and stuff. And it's like, what are you really doing though? You're just using the slogan. And there's a lot of like, we're going to name this BLM Street or whatever.
Oh, my favorite example of that is Elizabeth Warren did a video and she was in like a classroom and they had like the blocks with letters on it. And like they put BLM on the letter blocks in the background. And that was her like virtue signaling. She's on your side. Like that one that blew my mind because it was like, it was so like you could not write satire like that. You know, it would just be impossible. Who could come up with something so ridiculous? My God.
You think she'll ever come back and run for president again?
Elizabeth Warren? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She's got that narcissism complex. So I think she'll be back.
Do you think Hillary Clinton's going to run for president?
I hope. I'm on her team.
You're with her?
I'm with her. Absolutely. I am withering as we speak, just thinking about it.
Remember, she wore all white to that debate, and people were like, oh, shit. She looks fierce. And I was like, what? Just let's hear them debate. This should be on the radio. What's going on?
Do you think we're going to have the Trump versus Biden debate? Just one. I mean, we had two last time, but I don't think we'll even get one.
You will.
You think so?
Yep. It is going to be... I hate when people are like, yeah, I want Trump to be president. All that comedy gold. I hate that.
It was a lot of comedy gold, though.
But the only silver lining I can see between these two guys running against each other...
They might get so hopped up on the debate stage that they could both die of a heart attack at the same time. Am I allowed to say that?
Whatever they give them. But yeah, no, I mean, I not talking about the silver lining between them running, but just the silver lining of these two exact people running against each other, I think could be a debate between them. Like, I mean, I'm definitely watching that.
Well, last time Trump like tried to assassinate Biden with COVID, like they tested positive like that day, and then they like hid the result. You know, that was always like that was great. Yeah. And then Trump like pussied out of the next one. Oh man, I'm still pissed off. We need 4 debates this season because we got fucked last time.
There's no way they have energy for. I mean, Trump does these rallies, but that doesn't mean he has the energy for them. Do you see that super cut of him like slurring words and not knowing what he's saying? And
just to be clear, reflect the sun, I am not in favor of Hillary Clinton. just to be 100% honest, you know, apparently you know, sometimes my sarcasm doesn't go through, but I only support Hillary ironically because I think it would be funny. So
have you ever watched Fargo, the TV show?
No, I have not.
Season 5 was like one of the most blatant commentaries on the current state of the U.S.
Is this like a show from the 90s, 80s, 2000s?
Do you know Fargo, the movie? The Coen brothers?
I've heard of the movie. I've heard of it.
You haven't seen it?
Haven't seen it.
Come on.
Just fucking... You just gotta end me. You know, we gotta play rock, paper, scissors, and I'm gonna let you win. Let's just put it that way.
They did a movie, which was beloved. And then, now they have 5 seasons of the TV show, and you can watch any season. It's not like you have to watch them all. Season 2 is kind of a prequel to season 1, but believe me, you don't have to watch them all to know what's going on, okay? Billy Bob Thornton is in the first season. It's amazing. It's tough. You got to see this. So anyway, have you ever seen Stranger Things while we're on this topic of...
I've seen the first 2 seasons.
Okay, well that's something. So anyway, it's this real blatant.
I got something.
It's this real blatant commentary in season 5 on the current state of the U.S. and it wrapped. This is not a spoiler. Don't freak out, everyone. There's a scene where it's a lot like the what's the guy's name? Bundy's, the ranchers.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot like that, and they start playing the YMCA. And at first I was like, why are they doing? Oh, right. This is the rally song, and they're rallying the troops. They play it at the beginning of every Trump rally, right? And he comes out like doing his stupid rock'em sock'em.
So good. It's so good.
And it's like,
Oh,
why
man.
are you guys listening to this song? Do you not know what this means? It's so hilarious that they still use that as their anthem. So they were using it in the show, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is a blatant commentary on the state of the U.S. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
I mean,
you would like that show. Watch season 5. You would dig it.
well, I'll watch. I can't watch season 5. I'm a staunch.
you
You gotta
don't
watch
need-
it in order. I know you're telling me this. I
Okay.
understand. I get it. Nonlinear storytelling, whatever. I got a disease. It's terminal. It's actually metastasized my whole brain. I gotta watch things in order.
Well, you will burn
That's why I
through it.
haven't watched Star Wars, because there's no original film. They don't print it anymore. So I can't start the series. I've never seen Star Wars. Never seen a single film. Can't start it. They won't let me watch the first one. It's not out anywhere.
Disney Plus.
Well, that's they changed it.
Oh, so it's a purity thing. Okay, well.
Well, I want to watch the original. I am under the impression that they changed the story in the remaster. That's what people told me, that they changed the story.
Look, take it from a rabid Star Wars fan. Yes, I'm glad I have the originals to watch, but
You have the
you'll
originals?
be fine. Yeah, but you'll be
Could
fine.
you mail it to me and then I'll mail it back?
We're going to have to sign a piece of paper that if you don't mail it back, you owe me.
What format is it?
DVD? It's like you said. You can't
Well, you
get
can just
them.
rip it. Just rip it and send it to me illegally? Should we not?
That's illegal. Are you pirating?
Well, yeah. Well, then you don't need I don't need to sign papers, You don't need to send anything in the mail, in post office at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's so dark outside.
DVD piracy is not a victimless crime.
That's true.
Disney,
Watching all these shitty movies is really causing me some head injuries, so I consider myself a victim.
Disney deserves all the profits that they get from that stuff. Come on.
Well, how about I send Disney $5, put a little note on the dollar bill that says this is for Star Wars, and then we can just go ahead and you send it to me illegally?
Yeah. I think you'd be safe if you just started watching the Star Wars. They didn't.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Well, okay. I mean, they're making so much of this shit that it's going to get away from you. You'll have like.
It's already away from me?
There'll be so many years worth of having to like sit there and watch it.
Oh,
Like,
man,
if you're
I'll do all
a
that in an
completist
afternoon.
about it, just give it up. But Fargo, there's still a chance.
Is there a Fargo season 6 on the way?
I hope so, but they usually happen like 2 or 3 years apart. So, season 1, there's a police officer in season 1. They're big on. There's a bunch of Coen Brothers Easter eggs throughout the series. So, there's a cop in season 1, female cop, who in season 2 is like a 5-year-old. And then her dad in season 1 is a retired cop that owns a diner. And in season 2, he's like the main character. He's a cop, the main character. So it's like a prequel. Otherwise, trust me, you don't need to watch them in order.
No, I'm gonna.
Go
I
ahead.
have to.
Start with the movie.
Oh, I would. Yeah, yes.
Steve Buscemi.
You gotta love him.
Oh, he's a funny guy. Yeah, the way they talk with the, oh yeah, oh don't you know?
Is it
Oh,
from
yeah.
fucking? Is it North Dakota?
Yeah, so Fargo, North Dakota, but then the show is all through like Kansas City, Minnesota. It takes place everywhere. But yeah, they still call it Fargo.
Can you believe there's Kansas City, right? But where is Kansas City? Remind me of where that is.
Missouri.
Fuck is this horse shit, man?
They have corporations on the border right there that switch back and forth to avoid like taxes and stuff.
That's nice. That's a good deal. Is it like the building is on the line, so they just move the office, like they just switch offices, and now you're working in Missouri or whatever?
Yep.
That's pretty good. That's good.
I like those places that are named on like there was one it's right on the border of Colorado and Kansas. Canorado or something. I love those. Like, it's always when you're navigating a road trip and you see them on the map, you're like, what the fuck? Oh, they're just merging the two names. Anyway, maybe it's not that special.
It's not that special. I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Okay, well, I love the idea that Harvey K is probably like, where did Andrea live? Oh yeah, bunker. Where's that bunker?
I mean, I would like to participate in the, let's all dox ourselves hour, but I've had so many run-ins with that going awry,
Coordinates.
So. I'll give some coordinates. Just some, there'll be coordinates.
I had an idea, a design idea, when I worked for this ski company called Spider, where on the label on the inside of the ski jacket, we would put Morse code. And it was just like sewn in. It was embroidery, just little dots. People might not even know that it was Morse code. But if you could translate the Morse code, it was the longitude, latitude for where the office was. So if, you know what I mean? Like, you could Google it, or I just thought that was kind of neat. Like, if somebody's like, the fuck is this? And somebody's grandpa was like, that's Morse code. And then you're like, oh, what's it mean? Oh,
it's like the start of like one of those like fucking alternate reality games, like in the coordinates lead to there's something buried under the fucking old wood panel in the porch, you get there's a little box, and what's in the box? Cassette tape. What's on the cassette tape? Some muffled voice telling you to go to fucking some road somewhere. But it's not called that road anymore. They changed the name, so you gotta like look up what road used to be called like shit fuck road. Now it's fuck shit road, Then you go to shit fuck road, and then what's underneath the road sign? Another box. But wait, where was the road sign in 1979? Because they move them around every once in a while, so you got to find out where the road sign is. But don't worry, the diner down the street has some photographs, old-timey black and white photos that will show you where the road sign is. And then is that it?
I had this, I had the luxury of vinyl records when I was a kid. I know people still have vinyl records, but they're like more valuable and more collector's items. When I was a kid, we had no bones about playing them backwards and like manually changing the speed so we could hear hidden messages.
Oh yeah, you gotta fuck with it.
Did you ever do anything like that?
Well, I had my vinyl records or CDs, but not for music. CDs for video games, and sometimes this is a trick you can do. You put one CD in your PlayStation, right?
Okay.
You switch the CDs, and it starts playing music from another game. And then it loads assets from another game. And then you're like playing two games at once, and then the game breaks, and then it's over.
Huh. Okay. Do you know the Paul is dead conspiracy?
Paul died?
Supposedly. He died in a car crash, and they replaced him with a guy who had won a look-alike contest. His name was Benny Shears. That's why on Sgt. Pepper's they say, now I want to introduce to you the man you know for all these years, the one and only Benny Shears, right? Or Billy Shears. I can't remember now. That's weird. I guess I haven't listened to that in a while. Anyway, there are all these clues in the songs. If you know anything about how the Beatles wrote songs,
I don't know much.
they fucking did. Well, that 70-hour, not 70-hour. It's pretty long. That documentary Peter Jackson put out a couple years ago. Amazing. About Let It Be, that album. Anyway, you see how they wrote songs. They were literally just kind of like goofing off, messing around, and then it would come together over a period of time. It wasn't like they'd say, hey, I wrote lyrics for a song. You know, sometimes that would happen, but it was rare. So,
I'm going to sneeze at some point, just throwing that out there.
So you could listen for clues. You could see clues in the album covers and stuff like that. And there was this one radio show that was on in the middle of the night one night that documented all of the clues. And what we did was we had a cassette tape recording of that, and we passed it around for years. And I finally came by every single album. And so I knew there were all these albums out there. I had Beatles tapes, but no albums. And we didn't have CDs yet. And so I would play the albums, I'd find the album, and the first thing I did was not oh, it's a really valuable Beatles album. It was oh, we could play this shit backwards. Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do?
That was, to me, that was those moments where you hear what it is that it's it's supposedly if you go to this song right at this point and play it backwards, you'll hear, they say, turn me on, dead man. And when you
Did you hear
that
it?
Shit, yeah.
It was there? It's real?
It's that song Number 9 where it goes, Number 9, Number 9. You know that song on the White Album? Number 9. If you play that backwards, he says, turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man. You know what I'm thinking now is I could probably YouTube somebody playing all this shit backwards. I'm going down that rabbit hole later.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, one of these days I will undergo my Beatle education.
Hold on a second. Let me try something. Beatles Secrets Radio Show. I don't know.
So you got to find your cassette because it's lost media, and then you can upload it.
I know who has it.
You got to upload it. It's lost media. You got to make sure that the world knows.
Yeah, but they said Paul McCartney was dead, and he's not.
That's a shame, or not a shame.
Why would they cover it up? It's such a weird thing, right?
It is pretty funny, though.
And then put a bunch of clues on the albums. Why would they do that?
It would be pretty cool if they did.
I mean, that would be like if Left Past 10.
If we had
like
secret
if you swap
messages,
me out with somebody
you know?
who looked a lot like me, and everyone's like, "That's not him," and you're like, "No, yeah, it is." And then you start to put clues out in all the episodes that I really died and was replaced.
Like someone switches
Why
the
would you
monkey
fucking do
photo
that?
upside down, What's that mean?
No, it would be like I have as of this one date, he had a lot less gray hair. But it was obvious he wasn't dyeing it.
Well,
But then there were all these
dying
clues
is,
where they
is
put
not necessarily out of the question here.
there were all these clues where suddenly there was a bottle of Grecian formula in Andrea's background or something like that, you know?
I didn't know that was.
What? Grecian
I didn't-
formula?
It's not. Nope.
It's like old school hair dye.
It's not there.
Well, great show.
You ever look at these nostrils? Like, what's going on in there?
I take one close look every day at my
Really?
face, and then I walk away. Yep.
You say anything? You have like an affirmation, like you are gonna kick ass, you know, and like those things. You doing that?
Mm-mm. I play fishbowl. Know what fishbowl is? Watch.
No.
It's fishbowl. No, yeah, I take one close look every day. Just like what's going on? How are the years adding up?
You know how they tell you never to look in a mirror when you're on drugs?
Oh, yeah.
You ever look in a mirror though? You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Some crazy shit. I have two mirrors that like they're on like 90-degree perpendicular, you know, like there's the two walls and one mirror is on both, but they like you can like because they're medicine cabinet, right? So you can extend them outward. So I was playing with the mirrors and I was like looking at the multiple versions of myself while I was on drugs one time. Needless to say, I woke up in a ditch somewhere. I didn't know what happened.
Oh, wow. There's a couple times where that happened to me. I'm looking in the mirror and it's just like, can't look away. Who is that? That's not what I look like. And then you're like, this is boring. Morbius Dragon, thank you for gifting 2 Letterhack subs. Thank you.
How come I don't get any?
Pendulous Dragon says, I imagine Matt being like Fonzie looking in the mirror. Do you know what he means by that?
Oh, I know.
He means like I go to comb my hair and I go, perfect. That's not what I do. Now you need one. This is the thing. One time somebody saw me like looking at my reflection and they were like, you look fine. Don't worry. And I was like, I'm not checking myself out. If anything, I'm self-conscious and I'm looking at my reflection to make sure I don't look like a fucking idiot right now. So from there on, I was like...
Of which, of course, you did, and that was a really big problem.
I was overruled by the comment. So what I did from there on was like, I'm taking one close look every day, and then I'm not gonna worry.
You ever forget?
No, because I brush my teeth every day.
You don't. Do you ever walk around your house brushing your teeth? You know.
Well, I brush my teeth more than once a day. I'm looking for receding hairline. I don't care. I'm just looking. Receding hairline, gray hair, wrinkles, signs of cancer.
What would those signs be? Like, what would they look like?
Moles and stuff, and liver spots, and I have freckles. So, like, I don't want. I count the freckles in number 586, 587.
I got freckles.
That's not a freckle. You know what I mean?
How do you know what a freckle is and what's cancer? Because I got a lot. Like, look at this.
That's what I'm saying. Just look
at
close.
that. Can you see these? I mean, they're really small.
You're fine. You're fine.
Am I fine? How do you know?
You would know. You'd be like, that wasn't there.
Sometimes I find a new freckle on me. It happens once in a while.
My chin
this
beard.
This one's not here, or this one. Look at videos from like this one wasn't there. Can you even see this?
Nope. My
it wasn't
chin
there.
Gets this patch of white right here, and it looks like my chin just has like it's protruding right there,
right?
But actually it's just white hair.
Yeah, it does kind of look
one
like that.
Little, right?
It's like a mutation of some kind.
So annoying. It's so fucking annoying. Sandy's in the chat. This is the thing. I heard this one time from an Italian man, not just Italian heritage. This guy was from Italy. And he said, we were talking about men's fashion.
As
traditional men's fashion. And he said, Italians have it right. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, we get dressed, we make sure it looks good, we forget all about it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I just don't think about it for the rest of the day. I just make sure the outfit's right and I go do my thing. And I was like, oh, so just you're not constantly, because you see a lot of guys who are constantly walking around like, do I look okay? Is this still how it was when I left the house? They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they
Apparently,
know they look
according to him.
good.
He also
Oh man, we
said
got a super chat here.
he also said traditional Italian fashion for men was you have basically like a few pieces of clothing that are interchangeable. So you wear your suit with a shirt and tie, then you just wear it with a shirt, then you just wear it with a t-shirt, then it's just a t-shirt and the pants, no jacket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just gotta mix it up.
But it's like one outfit.
I am in. I'm on.
Omega Star, $1.99 super chat. Just played War on Christmas 2. Jolly good fun. Oh, I see what you did there.
That's amazing. Imagine playing
Nice.
War on Christmas in fucking March, though. You know.
Yeah,
what's,
take your tree down, dude.
what's going on there? Thank you for playing. I got some new stuff coming down the. Is it the pike or the pipe? Coming down the pipe? Or is it coming down the pike? Pike?
Yeah.
It's pike? Pipe?
It's not coming down the pipe.
What is it? It's
Pike. Should be like a body of water, like a billabong, right?
So it's not coming down the pipe. But pipes have water? Or gas.
Okay, I'm not gonna put that on the screen or read it. The anti-corporatist.
Buy one of those boxes to poop in. Don't mind if I do. Woo.
Random colonoscopy at 39. When I saw colonoscopy, I thought it said cacophony, but
That's your favorite. You see cacophonies everywhere you look.
okay, guys. It's 12:42. I've been on air for 4 hours, 38 minutes, and 27 seconds. So,
Is that it? That's all you got?
Think I'm-
Can't even make it
every-
to the big five, you know?
Everyone's confirming that it's Pike, by the way.
It's pipe? So it's
Pike.
not
P-I-K-E.
PIC? You know, when you think about it, a C is almost a P. You just add a
No,
line
it's not.
and then well, but like you add a line
You're
to
talking about the
C,
symbol. The symbol
then-
is different
then-
from culture and country to country. It's the sound.
well the sound I just don't know what it is. So it's not coming down the pike. Just to confirm.
Pike is short for turnpike. There it
Oh,
is.
trust me, I know. Well,
That
no one says it's
is
coming down the turnpike. No
Right.
one says that.
too long. Too many clicks. Like using a
Right.
PC. Too many clicks. Yeah, sorry. PC hate. My bad.
So it's not coming down the pipe.
There's 84 people. One person just tuned in like, oh, let me see what's going on here. Yeesh.
Oh, wow. Mistakes were made.
I have a new lie detector test that I'm writing. Have you watched my lie detector episodes?
I watched the first one.
How many have I done? 2.
I know
Anyway.
that there's a second one, but I don't know if there's a third one yet.
It's in the works. Right now I'm like My problem right now is I have too many truths.
Oh, you
They're
gotta
supposed to
balance
be-
it out. You gotta make up some good stuff.
I was thinking about doing a fifth option for the vote at the end, like they're all true. Would that complicate things in a weird way, or would that make it fun? If it was like, normally it's like 3 out of the 4 stories are true and 1 is a lie, or they're all true. Like, I don't know.
What if they're
Like-
all lies?
I don't think I'm that creative to come up with lies that sound true. That's like
I
the
could come up with 5
challenge.
lies.
Well, I could lie about just random. I could say, like, I have 18 pairs of Adidas. I could say I have 19 and be like, that's a lie. But-
Yeah, you could say the phrase is coming down the pike. That's a lie.
People could look that up.
You can't anymore. Google's ruined. You can't look it up. You gotta stop saying that. Search engines have died. Can't look up anything. If I look up coming down the pipe, I'm gonna get coming down the pike, and that's not what I was looking for.
You ever do this?
Do what? Just like
Do you ever just hit the light?
oh. Hold on, I
I'm
got
gonna look
it.
at it. Damn.
Wait. Hold on, check this out. We're
Mine
going
is
full.
really bright.
What the fuck is happening?
Morbius Dragon just said, Matt, shine the light on yourself. I bet you'll go for another 4 hours. I don't think so. Not seeing anything. Eh,
Jesus Christ.
that's really challenging.
Oh man.
That's a bright light, right? Like, who needs a selfie stick like that, or a selfie? What do they call it? Selfie ring light?
What are you asking me for? Do I look like I would know what that fucking shit is? Selfie ring light. What?
That's
That
what
sounds like a
everyone
sex
uses.
toy. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No, everyone uses those circular lights that you can put your phone in the middle of.
Why would anyone use that? You'd have to be insane to like stare down a fucking bright ass light on your phone. You'd have to have fucking like some mental disorder.
Well, you can adjust the brightness or the dimness. You can make it a cool light. You can make it a warm light. There's in-between settings. But then this one I have, look at how bright this shit is. Who needs this?
Jesus. So that's like an external light.
Oh my God, I just thought of what that looks like from outside. I
Aliens.
think I have like an electric chair in here or something.
Or that, or electric chair.
Anyway, now we have 73 people watching, so that worked. Okay. We're wrapping this up.
They
folks.
couldn't
This
take it.
was-
Coming
this
down the
was
pike
epic.
was fine, but the light show, sorry, I can't have the light show.
Well, it's also almost 1 a.m. People got stuff to do. This
No,
was
they don't.
great. This was a great, fantastic evening. I had a good time. This was fun.
Yeah, you
I
haven't
needed
gotten
this.
out of your chair in 4 hours, 5.
I really.
Well, you took a
needed
break
this.
in the middle, right?
Yeah, I had to run get some refreshments.
Hopefully, it wasn't too dark.
Really, do you know how like lame it is to give somebody shit for liking daylight savings hour? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I clearly do not know how lame it is.
We
As
save
you can-
electricity because it's lighter later.
I don't get it. You're using the same electricity at different times.
No. No, you're not.
Why not?
Ponzi coin, great name, says 1 more hour, please. Hey, you know what?
It's gonna
Yeah.
cost you.
Yeah, like if that was a super chat, maybe, but it would have to be pretty hefty.
Hey, all I'm saying, give Letterhack $100. Anything could happen.
Real quick, You don't have ads turned on for this, do you, on your channel?
I don't think so. Is that
Because
official? Are we officializing?
I think so, yeah. I think from now on, the live show for Left Past 10 will not be monetized. We will only turn ads on after we go off air. So if you're watching the VOD or the replay, whatever you want to call it, then there will be ads. But when you watch live, Left Past 10 will not have ads. I think we've all agreed. So
At least ads by YouTube. We will advertise our own shows.
yeah. It's just not going to cut to PragerU right in the middle.
I'm gonna advertise seltzer. Kroger
I think
brand.
about all the money. Oh, Adrian Vixen's here. I think about all the money that was spent on those ads. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are bad for the country. We
Oh,
need another choice. I saw that shit. Like, I'm watching like 12 shows a day. I would see like 30, 40 of those commercials a day. I was getting flyers in the mail.
You gotta get ad block on, man. Come on.
Well, it's not that big of a deal, but I'm seeing like just non-stop. And I was like, you guys know Nikki Haley is not gonna win. That's basically what those ads.
Well, I
they
mean,
were.
it's all just a money laundering scheme. They just want to they make these fake poorly made commercials just to pay their fucking nephew's cousin to fucking pretend to work, and then they get $100,000 for 7 minutes of work to do. It's probably AI generated at this point. Who even knows how much actual is that a real voiceover? Are those real clips? Who even knows?
They were replacing a fence at a local park, and somebody was like, "There's nothing wrong with the old fence. Why would they do that?" And he was making a pretty good argument, and I was like, "Hey! It's somebody's nephew owns the fence company or whatever." And he was like, "Oh, right, fuck." And I was like, "You're just too nice of a guy not to cut right to that." You're sitting here trying to make the case for the fence had a few more years left in it. That's not
Yeah.
what this is about.
He was going on offense.
I was like, this is big fence. This is big chain link.
Fuck.
The
How many
chain link
goddamn chain
industrial
links do they
complex.
need?
It's a chain
Those
link
holes could be
industrial
bigger,
complex.
You don't need that many.
Oh no, all kinds of rodent and varmint will get through there.
Because they're not just digging underneath or climbing on top.
You want them to dig because that's that much more effort, and they get lazy and they're like, I don't feel like digging today. But if they could just jump through the fence, they would do it nonstop. I am not a professional. None of what I just said about varmint should be taken verbatim. Or
yeah,
fences,
I think I
for
need to
that
go
matter.
get my fucking or whoever's nephew's uncle or whatever to go. The guy who owns the fence company, we got to bring them on.
Big Chain Link. Who a representative of Big Chain Link?
Fuck. But it's they're pro-union. They're in favor of linking the chains.
That's pretty clever. Should we end on that note? I guess I blew it.
You fucked it up.
Say something else clever.